Chum Chum.
Yes, he's a good boy.
They are incredibly jowly.
I've never seen a dog whose lips were fat.
Never seen what?
A dog who had fat lips.
Oh.
Unless they tried to eat a bumblebee.
Foxers.
Well, even they don't have, like, fat
Yeah.
lips.
Yeah, they just got the jowls. He's got a lot of skin. It's like
Got
my
some-
dog. It's like my dog who never grew into his neck. So, like, he's got a bunch of neck skin. Like, he's still a puppy.
He good doggo.
Fucking idiot.
I didn't say he was smart, I said he was good. There's a difference.
Eh.
That dog has so many rolls, I think he just came out of the oven. Are we live, by the way?
Yeah, we are live. I hate
All right, everyone, don't forget, no more offensive shit.
Oh, should I step out then?
You're Australian, you have an excuse. It does actually mean I can switch over to doing my
is
thing.
that official art of the dude?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good. Oh,
Huh?
Okay.
it took me a second to realize.
Yeah, I finally
Dude,
got
that
art-
is
art-
cool looking.
I finally got Art of Brimstone done today.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Oh, he's got glass boots.
Yeah?
That's the glass boots. I
That's
think it's being a bit lost the fact that they are supposed to be entirely glass. They don't have
Yeah,
metal on them at all,
I
but
know.
They pulled him out of Skyrim.
yeah, because that's what I've been using as visual ref for what they look like. Because
Yeah.
glass boots.
Yeah.
More beefy than I expected.
He is a military man.
Yeah, he...
It's like in the face, more so.
Oh. Eh.
I expected him to have a bit more of a gaunt face.
Eh.
I don't
I'm-
know why.
I mean, none of you have gaunt faces after you've been with Lee the last several weeks.
Yeah.
Lee keeps
We'll get a bit
everybody
fat.
well fed.
No, he does not let you get fat, but he makes sure that you're never hungry.
Should
Yeah.
we do
Lee's all about that balanced diet.
Should we do quick introductions then?
Yes, if everyone's ready to do introductions once Danny's done with the link bomb, we can go ahead and get started up. All good. I wrote an especially long session recap, so I'm ready to do it. I'm gonna slug down some pink lemonade.
Downloading this brimstone image for future references.
He looks so cool.
You also need to tell me who did that art later.
Crazy.
We'll tell you.
E.
Anyways, introductions.
Hi, I'm Andy. Hey.
Okay. Hello, I'm Armored Hunter, and I'm not going to be talking probably at all this section. But I'll still be listening.
Hello, I'm Danny Boop. I do the Strem. This and maybe a bio break if we have one will probably be the only times you hear me talk tonight, aside from, of course, the end. But, hi.
We are definitely gonna have to have one. I've got a full iced coffee, a full Coke, and a full
Yeah.
lemonade.
Okay,
That
yeah.
sounds like a you problem.
So there will be a bio break, but we're going to get through the next person's thing in the mountain and then bio break and then final mountain person. Yee. Next person, introduce yourself.
I am Feltros. I am next. Apparently. I am next for traumas.
I don't know if Felzy introduced himself. It just sounded like he said, I am next.
I am Feltros. I did introduce.
You probably did. It just cut out right at the perfect moment.
Discord is lovely for that.
Yeah, it's been coming out for me all fucking day. I am Methosia. I am not awake.
That's fair.
This world is in fact my nightmare.
Wait, but if I'm the one with the Eldrator in their stuff, Failsy, you're gonna need to wear headphones, bro.
Okay, give me a sec. We go dig them up.
While we're waiting for Phil to get headphones, can I just say I was having to fight with OBS earlier. Armored, thank you for helping me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was being... Other Boop decided to upgrade the computer's operating system, and I think that confused OBS a little bit, so I had to change some settings, but we're good now.
Nice. Hey, Brimstone, for future, or Mythosia rather, for future reference, you know if that art jack is okay with that art being on the stream?
It's commissioned art. I don't see why not.
I have done it before, but I would imagine he is, but I can ask.
If you could ask, because I don't want to show it unless they're okay with it. Even if it's commissioned art, I don't care. I want to get an okay.
Right. Okay.
I spend too much money and respect artists too much to do anything without their say so.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I say, looking at the amount of money I spent on getting one of the main antagonist arts done, vibrating with excitement.
I don't have. Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's going to be uncomfortable.
I'm sorry, Failsy, but we have to eliminate the reverb.
It's alright. I just need to really figure out how to fix my computer setup.
We need to see about getting you some of those wireless headphones like what Armored's got.
One moment.
Because of my fancy new table, I can actually stand up and DM whilst DMing, so it's nice. It allows for a lot more range of expression with my hands, which helps my voice acting.
Nice.
I say voice acting like I actually have any talent in it.
You do!
I really don't.
Well, you're able to make your voices distinct enough to where we can tell what character is what.
I try.
You succeed.
Alright, anyways. That's everyone but me, actually, with the introductions.
Introduce yourself right fast.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Ash, or Jim, whatever you want to call me. I'll introduce myself that way every single time because of a confusion early on in our friendship.
Sorry.
It's forever your fault, but I still don't mind it. And now I have to say, last time on the Scattered Realms, Session 38, our band of intrepid adventurers, Keta the Solicitous Bard, Trevencha the Human Dancer, Morgan the Hexblade Warlock, Failsy the Sorcerer, and Brimstone, he who is surprisingly okay with witnessing genocide. The venture through the Mountain of Reflection continued, delving deep into the troubled past of the fathers who affected two of the party members' lives so drastically. Brimstone, whose father seems to hold few things in the world more dear than to see his son suffer at his hands, discovered the depths of the tragedies that surrounded his life and the sacrifice that his dearest made so that he could have a chance to keep on living and return all the suffering in kind. And Morgan, whose father, while not quite as brutal, still inflicted upon her and her family a great deal of tragedy that culminated in her outburst that sent him away for good. But through the mountain she was given perspective of his own suffering at the hands of a deep-seated trauma caused by being a long-standing member of, and at the hands of subsea burn trauma further into. Neither man's actions are forgivable, still are on one through a likely to be bloody atonement, and the other through a desperate. But that future for them is in the hands of others. we pick up this session with yet another member starting their venture through the Mountain of Reflection. Failsy. You can a way.
Good
The-
robots.
Before you get in, Ash, you're roboting. So maybe just give it a second.
I talk too much and the internet's just like, fuck!
That stuff makes my shit all fucking day.
I got Failsy, then the rest of robots.
Wait, so what? Like, even the introduction completely roboted?
Yep.
Do I have to say
No,
that
no.
whole thing again?
Not complete. It was in a couple spots, but it was mostly.
I caught the gist of it, but it did make you sound like you had no idea how to talk.
I mean, I don't.
Maybe try talking a touch slower than you normally do.
It was a really long introduction. I had to do it quickly.
No, well, don't bother with. I mean, like for the rest of the session.
Okay. Shouldn't have had issues. I've been working on my internet here lately, but I guess it's just going to keep being a problem. Oh well. So, Failsy, we are picking back up with you now beginning your venture through the Mountain of Reflection. Let me get that music up. Hopefully the music decides to work this time. Alright, it's working. Is it working on stream side?
Yeet.
Okay, just making sure. So, Failsy, you, much though you are not aware of this, much as your companions have found themselves to be, are in a blank hallway. The entrance you just came through, blocked behind you with a wall of glass that previously had not been there. And the character you'd entered with, the baby, as you refer to her as, nowhere in sight.
Oh god, I've lost the baby. Get her! Brimstone's going to kill me!
Yeah.
Maybe he won't notice if I make like a straw man type thing. Shit.
Reflection? Confusion? Convincing? Perhaps.
Who dat?
You do not receive an answer.
Looks around my stark environment, looking for voices. Have I gone mad? That's really boring going mad.
Perhaps. The past. Repeat. Continue.
Continue where? Should just sort of wander
You
down
have
the hallway?
Yeah, you are just have a hallway in front of you.
I'll follow the hallway looking for signs of the baby.
Alright. Go ahead and give me a perception check as you track for signs of baby.
Perception. Seven.
7. You're looking all around you, and though these walls are made of glass, they're not really opaque, or they are opaque, so you cannot see through them at all. Though there are occasionally like lights that move around inside the glass, seemingly. You unfortunately see no signs of a baby. You do, however, see ahead of you a flat surface that is interrupting the otherwise constant curved hallway around you.
Ooh, what's this? Abandoned search for baby to take a look at the flat surface.
Alright then. At first glance, it appears to be a mirror. Though what you see reflected in it is not your own face, or at least not as you currently know it. You see a much younger version of yourself, your horns all blunted off, and you're currently in chains.
Oh, fuck you, mountain.
As you say that, you are no longer in the mountain. You are standing in a field, watching the procession of yourself and several robed figures marching forward. Your own visage is ghostly.
Nope. See if I can wander up to one of these road things to see if I can knock them over.
Alright, you like wander up to one and try to push it.
Nope. Just try and...
Are you trying to push it, or are you like to me, or nope to them?
Nope to them. It's like,
Okay,
nope. Try and push people over.
Alright. Anytime you go to like knock someone over, either your hands just go straight through them, or like the vision momentarily skips and they're no longer standing where you currently are. You don't seem to be able to interact with the vision in any way.
Seething with a little bit of rage there. If you force me to see all this again, I am going to kill this mountain.
You've received no response, but the vision ahead of you continues to play out. You do have vague memories of this point in your life, though for understandable reasons, you've mostly tried to block them out.
I do have some clip notes of what happened that are harder to erase.
Yeah. Some of the trauma you suffered under these people's hands is impossible to forget, though a lot of it, just due to the constant nature of it, became blurred together. If you want to, go ahead and make me a history check to see if you can pick out exactly when this moment is.
I am good at history.
Yep.
I know exactly when this was. 25.
Alright, 25. You do, in fact, know exactly when this was. This was the procession where you were supposed to have been taken to a new temple somewhere in the continent of Aquila, or the continent of Jezebeth. Getting my own names confused. A new temple in the continent of Jezebeth to attempt to jumpstart their wild magic well that was there. Because something in your blood seemed to jumpstart these wells. But you distinctly remember this time because you don't necessarily block this one out of your vision. Because you can see as they are moving forward, there is the desert they had to pass through ahead of you. You distinctly remember this time. It sort of begins to play out in an almost Cliff Note version. Most because your own consciousness, even though you were walking, was sort of fading in and out at this point. You see before you as the scene suddenly jumps forward and the procession of seems about 7 guards and then 3 priests that are in this procession besides yourself. You all are suddenly making your way through the desert, and you can distinctly remember hearing a war horn blaring in the distance.
Am I able to try and see who the priests are?
Yeah, you can attempt to like go up to them and try to look up underneath their hoods.
Just who are you? I'm making a list now.
Alright then.
This is probably pointless because they're probably about to die.
Uh,
Or already dead.
You don't necessarily know if these people ever died because you were kind of in and out at this point. You don't remember exactly what played out in this time.
What roll should I make to
I'll let this
Keep
be
up
an
the points.
investigation check.
investigate? Who are you? 12.
All right. You walk up to one of them as the memory is playing out. All of them are reacting to this, so you're essentially just kind of ignoring what's actually happening in the memory in favor of just following these priests to get a look at their faces. But you can see as the three of them run away, two of them appear to be human males, and one of them is a high elf female. You don't explicitly know who these people are, like in terms of names, but you have a fairly good idea of what their faces look like. Sorry, it's been a long day. Let me get my notes exactly what they look like. Yeah, unfortunately, they're not wearing name tags or anything because that would make this too easy. Ah, there it is. The unfortunate thing about having more space is that I have a lot more notes setting around. Alright, so one of the human males has sort of shorter brown hair. He's very unassuming looking. Like, he looks bizarrely average in terms of humans. Like, if you saw this man's face in a crowd, you wouldn't be able to tell it apart from any of the other ones. And for some reason, that feels intentional. The other man is a bit more recognizable. He definitely has a much more brawnier, sort of grizzled features. And you do remember, this guy, despite the fact that he was a priest, he was definitely one of the more physically traumatizing of the people you ever had to deal with. And he has a very distinct sort of peppered scratch mark scars going along the left side of his.
Peppered scratch marks?
Yeah, like a bunch of small scratches. They appear to at one point have been very deep cuts, but they have since healed to become just this sort of almost zebra pattern of scars.
Like someone smashed him in the side of the face with loose glass?
Almost, but the scars themselves, they look like some of them are older than the others, like this happened on multiple occasions.
Left side of his face?
Yeah, the left side of his face. Alright.
Okay, got that.
And the High Elven woman, you cannot see. You actually can't really see her features very clearly because aside from just the robe's hood itself, she appears to have a veil on. But oddly enough, despite the fact that you all are getting you remember you're in this moment, she's smiling. She almost seems to be excited. But those are the features you can make out on the priest. The guardsmen all have helmets on, so they really can't be seen too well.
Yeah, you better run your assholes now. What the hell is going on?
Like I said, you remember this scene fairly well, even though your memory of it is broken. You remember seeing the war band of the Zemodus Temple rushing out because your procession had unknowingly tripped one of their warning signs going through here. In retrospect, you remember learning that the Zemodus Temple itself has these sort of wild magic, basically tripwires that are set around the desert, to try to detect to see if any like mutant or aberrant creatures are moving through the desert to track and make sure that they're not going to pose a threat to the temple. And you passing through one of these set it off.
Oh right, this is the day that I liked today. Today was good.
So you sort of watch this memory play out. There are singular moments where it sort of like cuts out and picks back up. But in total, the actual memory itself is a lot more clear than you can actually remember. It's a bit weird to be seeing it from a third perspective compared to what you have in your own memories. But you just see as this war band, who is actually being led by a much younger Jamel, charges forward and just, almost without mercy, just obliterates the guard procession of these priests as they're running away. Though, at this time, it was at this moment when you're seeing in this memory, you don't remember this particularly well, several of these armed Yuan-Ti creatures are actually moving to attack you before Jamel herself stops them. At the time, you didn't understand their language, so you had no idea what she said, but you do understand now, hearing it back, that she's essentially saying that you're not a threat. And when questioned, she just points out the fact that you're locked in chains.
Felzy chuckles like, I'm not a threat yet.
It's very much the case. But you remember essentially being picked up by Jamel as some of the other Yuan-Ti in her war party charge off after the fleeing priest. You can see in the distance several sort of arcane bolts going off, spell fire raining down. You're not necessarily sure how the battle's going or whose side it's favoring, but you just see Jamel carrying you back towards the center of the desert, back towards the temple.
Thinking it out logically, I'm assuming I can't follow the battle, so I'll follow follow my future waifu.
Yeah, and plus it's not too hard to figure that out because as you do start moving away from yourself in the memory, the actual edges of the memory begin to fade away and leave. But that just seems to be happening even if you follow yourself, because you remember in this moment that you more or less lost consciousness.
Am I still seeing that the world is still here, even though...
It's fading out to white now, because you've already, at this point in your memory, you would have already lost consciousness. So it's fading out, but you're still in this memory if you want to try to get a perspective on anything. You do remember Jamel was talking to you in this moment.
I'll try and listen now that I know what she's saying, or I can understand the language at least.
Alright, go ahead and give me a perception check to understand what she's saying, because you were walking away and then you're having to like try to run to catch up.
So flicking back between pages. Perspective! 3.
I forgot you set up a perspective check. Unfortunately, as you're getting closer, the memory has already faded out to the point where you're about to be forced out of it. You essentially just hear the last thing of the memory, just her saying, "You're gonna be alright." And then you're standing back and...
She was so sweet.
Oh, wait, let me do that better, Justice. You're going to be alright. Jamel has such a cute voice.
Well, that wasn't so terrible. Am I back in the hallway again?
Yes, you're standing back in the hallway again.
All right,
Terror?
Mountain.
Terror, horror, pain, loss, perhaps. Important? Maybe.
All right, Mountain. You live today.
Live, alive, kill, dead, redundant.
That's a matter of perspective.
Perspective.
Now, okay, where to next?
You look behind you, and there is a wall, and you look ahead of you, and there is more hallway.
Down the big old hallway we go.
Seems to only ever be one track to follow.
Hey, voice, have you seen a baby? Little pink bubblegum tiefling?
Baby? Child? Person? Clarify.
I'm looking for a tiefling about yay high. With little nubby horns and pink hair.
Enter. Review. Blood. Association.
That means almost nothing to me.
Request. Information. Provide. Required? No.
Rightio then.
Return? Guaranteed.
Good. That one I actually need.
Curious. Questioning? No. Continue?
Suppose so. She'll just wander off into the hallway.
Alrighty then. It's a little while before you see anything again. You do occasionally notice that there's just something sitting along the edges of the pathway you're sort of following down this hallway. Sort of broken stones that have arcane runes inscribed on them. Little bits of glass scattered around. None of it's directly in the walkway that you're following, but just seems to be objects. They might be associated with them. Say again?
Sorry, do they look familiar to me at all?
Some of the runes that you can see lying around do look very similar to the sort of runes you were taught by the enchanters of the temple. Like, you know for a fact that Altia, who taught you how to do enchanting proper... No. I needed to not make those names so similar.
Yeah, I think you got like 3 different people with A.
It's just those 2 specific characters who are very similar. I'm trying to find her name.
I think it was Altia, the snake lady.
It is Altia. I thought it was. Her name is... Wait, what's the... I'm confusing myself. Sorry. I have too many names to keep track of, people. I'm sorry.
Castaway.
Altia is the god. It's like Alteria or something.
Alteria. Alteria.
Alteria. That's why I always get it confused, because their names are similar, because I randomly generated her name. But yeah, you remember the runic inscriptions that Alteria taught you were actually the same as this. So you can only assume that that's just the form of enchanting that some members of the Zemotus Temple use. You could actually try to pick one up and inspect it if you want to try to figure out its purpose.
I'll do that. What
Right,
are
go
you?
Go ahead and make an Arcana check.
21.
Not bad, not bad. You can tell that this... Only seeing one or two runes would be like a full runic matrix setup. You don't quite get the idea of what it was supposed to do. But you do identify that these specific stones relate to transmutation magic in some way.
Huh. That's familiar.
Given what you just saw, you could potentially make a connection that these might be related to your early time in the Zemotus Temple.
Oh goody, are we going to go through my ritual things next?
You see those stones scattered about, and then it's another 30 or so minutes before you find another flat surface.
Let's see, what have you got for me here? Peer into the mirror. Questioningly.
It is still you, much younger, but with none of the physical abnormalities you previously had. Your horns have regrown at this point. You no longer have the strange, chaotic mutations that you had previously had. You do remember that this was essentially just after the temple started letting you move around again, after the lengthy recovery that was required to what the cult of Magisteria had done to you.
There you are, you sexy beast.
You are back in this memory. You still are in the desert currently. But in this scene, you have your hands deep inside the carcassed remains of a sandworm. Jamel, who has essentially tasked herself with overseeing your recovery. At this point, you didn't really understand why, but she did. But she had tasked herself with overseeing your recovery, and when this thing had shown up during one of the outings you decided to take, one thing led to another, and she killed it before it got a chance to eat you. So she's just at its head, plucking teeth out of its body, or out of its skull, whilst you are currently ripping open its guts, because you thought something interesting might be there. Because you saw a lump inside of it.
There is always something interesting inside these worms.
They eat a lot of stuff. Luck would have it, though, that you were correct this time. This lump was actually the still partially digesting remains of a robed figure. Not the same as one of the ones you'd previously dealt with. This one is wearing sort of red arcane robes. And they had a mostly intact spellbook on them. And you notice that there are a couple of things that, at this time, you had decided to loot off the corpse. Because they don't need them anymore. And one of those
Big
specific...
Fauzi nods appreciate. Big Fauzi nods in approval.
Yeah, you actually just are currently, I assume, just watching yourself as you're doing this.
Pretty much, and glancing over at Jamel to see what she is doing.
Yeah, she's just, like I said, she's just pulling teeth out of its head. Most because you know that this thing's teeth are because it can burrow through bedrock and it can chew through sand the way it does. They're often used as partial engraving tools to engrave glass hard. So she was just essentially collecting its teeth for resources. Occasionally just lifting one up into the sunlight and just going, ooh, nice. Just being the generally very cute snake lady that Jamel was, and still is. You sort of turn down to yourself as you can hear yourself make sort of excited exclamation as you pull a partially broken ring off of this mage's somewhat melted hand. And in this moment, even without having your full understanding of arcane knowledge, you immediately recognize this as a magical item, because it had tarnished considerably slower than the rest of this thing.
Oh, right. This happened.
Yeah.
Little Failsy, you might not want to put that on.
You say as you watch little Failsy put it on. And just the entire scene around her as she puts it on suddenly go into...
Is this why people tell me not to put on weird stuff?
Yeah, you just essentially watch yourself as you just stand up just like, huh, that's a cool find. But you could see Jamel just literally just like 1/8 her normal speed just turning something around in her hand. Like one of the teeth around in her hand. And then you go to walk up to her, and she very slowly reacts in a shocked fashion. It was at this point where you started to realize that you were moving incredibly fast. And this whole memory just continues to play out in slow motion as you just are roadrunnering yourself around the members of the Zemotus Temple trying to get this item off of you. And literally none of them are fast enough to catch you.
Oh dear, yes.
Eventually, the only reason that they were actually able to catch you was essentially because you accidentally ran into a quicksand pit, without thinking about it. And when I say ran into it, you essentially ran onto it, then stood there taunting someone for a little while, and not realizing you were sinking into it. And then you distinctly remember they got the ring off your hand, and you almost immediately collapsed from exhaustion. Later on, you found...
They stole my ring.
Yeah. Luckily, with your current perspective, you stay relatively close to your younger self, so you're not having to, like, dead sprint to keep up with yourself. Yeah, later on, you do remember finding out that this was a busted enchantment of a Ring of Haste that, longer you kept it on, it kept having its normal effect, like it should have, but the moment it was removed, you suffered a hefty amount of exhaustion, depending on how long it was left on your person. You never got the exact numbers of it, but they essentially told you it was too dangerous to leave in your hands, and they kept it.
Wonder if that's still around in temple somewhere.
You can only assume. You do remember they have the magical items that you found. You found a lot.
I really gotta check out that one room that won't let me in.
I just gotta break into the temple. I mean, hey, if you want to, you can actually try and follow the person who takes the ring away from you.
I'll give that a try, see where they're going.
Alright.
Where do they keep all my goodies?
Go ahead and make an investigation check for me.
Investigate.
See if you can track down where they're going.
The temple is big. Even I don't know where everything is.
Yeah.
11.
Unfortunately, you're trying to follow them, but before you can reach where their end point is, the memory begins to fade away.
Damn it, Felzy, stay conscious. I need this. Fuck.
I mean, you remember almost dying from this experience because it literally exhausted you that much. But yes.
Damn it, I'll have to interrogate someone about this later.
But the memory does fade around you and sort of fades in oddly to another scene of you walking through the desert happily until you're just walking along, and you just stop because you heard something, and you just watch yourself fall through the ground.
Wow, was I really that much of a klutz?
This one didn't look like it was necessarily your fault.
Just sort of stares down, I guess, a hole that I've fallen into.
Yeah. You just look down into this hole that you fell through, and you realize as you're like looking around the inside of the hole, it was just the buried roof of an old building. You just happened to have stepped on a loose or somewhat damaged tile that was on the roof and fell through it. How the sand itself is not caving in the ceiling is on you, but you just look down and you see yourself currently sitting in a pool of water, just very confused. You probably fell a good 40, 50 feet before you hit this pool. So luckily it was there, or else you probably would have died.
Wow. I have a lot of issues with nearly dying.
I'm good at speaking, everyone. It's literally what I do. All the time. But then the memory begins to fade out again as you just watch yourself down below having a happy swim in this pool. It sort of fades back in for like a split second where you just see you and Jamel swimming in this pool. You didn't tell anyone about this. This was just your guys' hangout spot for a while. There wasn't anything magical to report in this place, so it was just a nice little place to hang out. But again, this memory sort of starts to fade out again.
Oh, we're so cute together.
And you are back in the hallway.
Damn it, I want to see more of that. Oh, fine. Really should invest in one of those weird sphere things that take recordings.
Perhaps. Personal decision?
What you on about now?
It does not respond.
Oh, of course not.
You like wait for a good couple of minutes and it just does not say anything.
Fine. Be obtuse.
It's actually not long ahead of that. You can actually see another mirror down the hallway. Though it's at the very far end of what you can see with your current sight line.
Oh, we're off to see the glass panes of whatever the hell's in here. She tries making a song, but it fails completely.
I know what you were trying to do. Alright. It's not but another 5 to 10 minutes of a walk ahead of you when you finally get to this next pane. This memory still has you about the same age, tiny bit older. Not like another year older, but definitely just a little bit further into your studies. Though you are actually wearing Yuan-Ti robes in this memory.
It's like they're just trying to make me sexy all the time now.
I mean, Yuan-Ti robes are very flattering. But yes.
Where are we?
You pick into this memory, where it's actually in the above ground or I guess I should say above water temple portion of the where you are actually receiving essentially, trying to think of the word I had written down for this. Oh, it was just, you were receiving your medallion that signifies you, because your outstanding record of discovery in the desert of the Fagor. I swear I know how to speak. God, my tongue is getting so tired right now. But
Lots of tongue
basically,
twisters.
yes. I unfortunately make a lot of names that are that. But it was essentially a medallion signifying your record of discoveries in the Flagora Desert, bringing back magical items for the Zamodus Temple to study. Essentially recognizing you for that accomplishment and granting you the title of Scholar in Training.
Completely intentionally, I swear.
Yes. If you want to, you can actually make a history check to try to remember what discovery pushed them over the edge.
Let's have a look.
I'll say you have advantage at this one.
History. 23.
Alrighty then, 23. You remember fairly well this discovery, though at the time you didn't realize it was anything other than mundane, because you didn't bother to read into it very much. It was, in fact, a book you had found, which you realized was not really magical in any way, shape, or form. But sorry. I've been up since really early this morning. But it was just a essentially old history tome that you later found out had a false cover, which revealed a medallion that was locked inside of the sort of hard, sort of almost wooden binded cover that it had. You never found out what that item was, much to your dismay. You saw it at one point. It appeared to be a sort of mess of intertwining snakes that made up the medallion. But you never learned what it actually did. Aside from, at one point you heard that one of the researchers who found it inside the cover almost died when they touched it. And that was part of the reason why Jamel never let you go near it, because she didn't know what it did, and it almost killed someone when they touched it, and she was weirdly protective of you.
Oh, yeah. That was sweet, but infuriating.
This exact memory begins to sort of skip and shudder forwards again. And it's sort of to the evening that was of this same night. So now it's cutting forward to your personal bedchambers that you were given. And before this point, Jamel had never made it a point to visit you during the night or anything like that, but she always protected you when you went out on adventures, or generally just spent time with you when you were around the temple. This is the first time she'd ever decided to come directly to your bedchambers to talk with you. So you just see her step in. You remember her telling you during the ceremony that she was going to visit you later, which seemed weird to you, but you didn't deny it. You assumed a lot, but you didn't assume what was going to happen. Which was this was the night that Jamel essentially proposed to you. Sort of gifting you this oddly egg-shaped white stone that you didn't really understand its purpose of at the time. And
Felsy's sort of blushing in the corner, going, "Oh right, yes. Is it appropriate for me to watch this?"
I mean, it's appropriate for you to watch it, but not the stream to watch it. So we're gonna gloss over the next 3 hours of memory. Needless to say, you all had fun. I decided to look at the game chat and it was a bad idea. But yes. You thoroughly enjoy this portion of the memory because it is remembered in vivid detail. It's interesting getting to see it from multiple perspectives because now you can look at it from any angle you want to.
Felsy has flying camera powers.
In this moment, you do. But as that whole situation begins to draw to a close, this is where the memory begins to fade out.
Oh god, did she bang me unconscious?
More or less, she has a lot more endurance than you do.
Bye, Jamel.
Alright then.
After the gauntlets, I need some sort of ring of endurance.
Possible. There are items that up your constitution score. Chastity belt of Dwarven kind.
No, none of that.
I'm joking. Anyways. But you are back in the hallway again. And you just hear around you just... Time? Relish? Enjoy?
I enjoyed all of that.
Figures? Remain? Time? While?
Do you actually know how to form a sentence?
Perhaps.
It's incredibly annoying having to piece together broken English. Piece together broken common.
Annoyance. Inconsiderate. Change? Cannot.
Of course not.
Common. Unknown.
What is this voice talking in?
It is speaking as your ears can hear.
So clipped out there.
It is speaking in common as far as your ears can hear. But there is something that feels weird about it. The words themselves, as you on them, seem to like blur at the edges. You've dealt with this before. It's the way like words that are having to be forcibly translated sound. like magically translated sound. Like if someone cast the tongue spell.
Belzio will sort of stop for a moment and cast Comprehend Languages. See if that sheds any light on what this thing's saying.
You attempt to cast magic and nothing happens.
Oh, of course it doesn't.
Forgive. Require. Power. Consider it.
I wonder, what do you normally speak? Belzy starts saying in Abyssal.
Tongue, spoke. Require, not. Understood? Yes. Spoke? No.
Fair enough. Magically translated it is.
Forgive, required.
Well, my lady boners are satisfied. What's next? She'll wander down the hall.
Right. You wander down the hall, and it's quite a while before you see another mirror. Probably a good 2, maybe 3 hours.
Wow, if all this distance is my life, how recent is this now? Quick math in her head. Yep, no idea. What's up?
Yeah, you have no idea of what the scale of things are.
She just assumes that further down the hallway, the closer to normal time it is, like the present day.
It's a reasonable assumption. The next memory you see is actually almost at the end of the hallway. You see 2 flat panels at the same time. One off to your side, sort of set into the wall as the previous ones have been, and then one directly in front of you in the flat surface of the actual hallway. It actually comes to a final end.
Okay. Doesn't look like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo situation. Try the one that's closest, like
Right.
before hitting the end.
Alrighty then. You go up to the one that's closest. You see almost yourself as you currently are. Maybe at most a year or 2 younger.
Oh yeah, still rocking the bod.
The memory sort of starts to fade in around you, and you are standing in one of the deepest recesses of the Zamodus Temple. You know that this is so far down that it goes even beyond what is under the water surface, down to the bedrock at the bottom of the lake. The bedrock that's below even the sands of the desert.
This is familiar. Oh. What was it again?
You sort of watch as the scene is currently you and Jamel walking down the hallways leading through this strange part of the temple. It's bizarre because this section of the temple is not made the same as the rest. the architecture of it does not match what the members of the Zemodis Temple construct. It's something old.
Alright, the temple was built on top of another temple of some sort. Or structure. Temples on top of temples. That sounds good.
If you want to make a history check, you can try to recall what you've heard about this fact.
Let's have a look-see. History. 24.
Double 24 is nice. Alrighty then. You're recalling about it. You do remember at one point you did speak to Lady Voltolia about this after you were given the assignment you were. The Zemodis Temple, in its current constructed by Voltolia and her following. It started construction in the pre-Advent of Civilization era when she first became the queen she is now. And first started gathering her following. But though she didn't give exact details, she did tell you they constructed in this location on the advice of some other force. She never explained to you what that force was, aside from essentially saying that it was divine in some way. And that she trusted it. And building the temple here was of keeping what you were searching for in check until it could be used. And as you're sort of like remembering that, going through these motions, you see as Jamel, with some great deal of effort, which is absurd considering you know how strong Jamel is, push open one of these massive stone doorways that are leading into the center chamber of this temple, wherein you can see a massive, at least 30 if not taller foot, 30 foot if not taller, molten suit of armor.
Oh, right. Yeah, this thingy. I want it still.
Yes, it almost looks to be carved itself from the very bedrock of this temple, with veins of molten stone just flowing through it. And now, we're going to cut back to the conversation you were having with Jamel at this time. I know it is a bit of a lofty goal, but this is the one that the chief researchers and scholars have decided to give you.
You want me to play younger Felzy?
Yep.
Okay.
Basically the same as Felzy now, but still at the temple.
Okay, what is it? You want me to fix it or something?
No, not fix it. At least it does not even appear to be broken. Your job is to research it. To discover all that you can about it. I will not lie and say that I'm not worried about this task. The other scholars have deemed this thing too dangerous to research before. They've simply not even attempted.
I want it.
I figured you would, but don't touch it if you don't have protective gear on. That stone is actually molten earth. It is very hot.
Felzy stops just before touching it. Right. I should have known that.
Yes, you more or less have to stop just before touching it because there's a massive tail wrapped around your abdomen. Like I said, there's a reason they chose you to research it.
Because I'm
You're-
just so good at this, my job.
And the fact your willingness to pursue things blindly and without caution for danger.
I like to think that's one of my most admirable qualities.
It certainly gets you a lot of work. The concern evident in her voice.
Fine, if it means so much to you, I will be careful with the big, scary monster robot.
Yes. Come over here with me. And she actually leads you over to a placard that is sitting sort of directly at the feet of this massive construct. You notice that at one point it must have had some kind of... It looks like it had a paper at one point set on it, but the actual paper, it has been blackened and is almost gone. And if you go to even attempt to touch it, Jamel stops you.
You know, they shouldn't have left paper here. Probably it's too hot next to this giant thing.
I'm aware. The thing is, we can tell at one point it must have been magical, because otherwise it would just be gone. As you know, paper gets close to fire, it burns, it doesn't just blacken and char. But this paper, though very fragile, and she sort of gestures around the corners. Clearly at one point someone tried to pick it up, and the paper just sort of disintegrated in their hands. We've not been able to move it. We can tell that this must have something to do with this thing. And it is written in our old tongue. But unfortunately, most of it is illegible now.
Can I try and read it?
Yeah, you can go ahead and make an investigation check.
Investigate. 7.
That's intimidation.
No, that's the wrong button. Sorry, I saw the 5. Investigate. 19.
I'm gonna intimidate the paper. Talk to me! Tell me what you know!
I intimidated it very well.
Alright. 19 on the investigation. The majority of the paper is entirely illegible. But you do notice that there is a portion of the paper where the actual inscription that at one point that was on its surface actually appears to have been burned into the stone placard it was sitting on. You're not really sure exactly how that process occurred, but you can see it. It's essentially a title for what is sitting in front of you. And as you sort of read it out loud in your memory, Jamel herself reads it out loud from what she knows it to be, which is the Regalia of Flame.
Taking.
This is considered one of our temple's greatest treasures, and one that we must defend most fiercely.
What's it for?
To our understanding, it's a weapon. At one point used to fight the titans that came when the world was first formed. Fight them, defeat them, and give form to the lands.
And this one got buried in the desert?
As far as we can tell, there were several of them. One of the other temples that was unfortunately destroyed in years past spoke of at some researchers coming across another one in the frigid north. Not as impressive as this one, but it appeared to be one of the regalias. It sort of based itself around ice in form. And the name itself seems to hearken to the weird divine armors that the gods construct for their most trusted of soldiers. I have a lot of assumptions about it, but you know me, I'm not a scholarly type.
Well, I'll see what I can find out about it.
Yes. We're still making preparations to get you access to lands outside of the temple. But hopefully, sometime soon, we'll be able to get you anywhere you need to go. But for now, there's a lot of research that hasn't even been attempted to pour over in our... If you want to start there, that'd probably be the best place. At least it would be the safest, though knowing you, you'll find yourself in danger still somehow.
I only caused an avalanche of books in the library once.
Once is far more than enough, Elsie. You almost killed yourself. You almost got crushed.
I would have... Fair. But I would have been fine. I had
You
plenty
have
of
such tiny, frail bones. You would have been crushed.
With your hugs, I'm pretty sure my bones are stronger than steel.
That is redundant. She just hugs you at that point, just like, I don't hug that hard.
I give dramatic, I'm dying sounds.
Now, Felzy, I will actually squeeze you if you do not stop that. Do you continue just doing dramatic dying sounds?
It's like, yes, just to goad her on.
Alright. She actually starts squeezing you, and that's where the memory fades out, because you actually did pass out from that. She squeezed all of the air out of your lungs.
Oh, damn it, me.
Jamel, powerful woman. Very powerful woman. But the memory fades out, and you're standing back in the corridor.
Right. I'm supposed to be researching the damn regalia.
Perhaps? Lost? Forgotten? Task?
Nah, just sidetracked. Multitude of things needing to do.
Memories, great. Tasks, many. Required, few.
Be heading to Tesvarel soon enough, I guess.
Perhaps, or perhaps not. You hear a clicking sound off to your side.
What's that?
Look over, and the other surface that was a mirror a second ago is now a doorway. It has a handle on it, and it's ready to be opened.
Is that the door that
That is the surface that you decided not to look into before.
Is this telling me to leave?
Desire?
open the-
Yours. Requirement? Perhaps? Leave? Decision?
I'll open
Resolution? As you're reaching for the door handle is when it says that last word, just resolution.
the door. I don't know what you're saying half the time.
Do you stop from opening the door as you say that, or do you continue to open it?
Just for the moment. And then the door.
Alright then. You open the door, and it opens into a massive circular chamber. Where you can just see the form floating in midair in the center of the chamber, and these sort of floating up to it.
What's floating in the mid center?
There is a large platform floating in the center, though on a pedestal, sort of floating above the platform itself, you just see an old, blackened piece of paper.
If I was to step towards it,
Alright then.
do I...
Each step you take over one of these stepping stones, the paper starts to fade from its blackened color and retakes on a more papyrus, sort of faded yellow look.
Oh, no, you're just showing off.
You receive no response. Do you continue stepping forward?
Tempted to start, like, going backwards and forwards to see if the, it'll revert back to black and backwards and forwards. If you're playing with the, stop, the rewind and fast forward on a VCR.
Do you do that?
Yeah, just to see what happens.
You take one step back, the paper does not revert back to the blackened form.
Ah, damn. Oh well. Keeps walking forward.
Alright. You continue walking all the way up, and the paper you see in front of you is actually not the paper you might be expecting. It's not the placard that was on the regalia. It is considerably smaller than that.
Now, you see, that would have been a really cool trick.
What you do see on it, however, is a map.
Oh, now where do you lead? What is this a map of?
It is a map depicting the southern peninsula of the Flagora Desert.
So, where we are now.
Yes. Though it does not have it being explicitly a desert. There are several cities that are being shown on this map, and one of them specifically is circled in red. Or rather, not exactly circled in red, but it appears to almost have a somewhat brown-red stamp put on it.
Do
And
I
you
need
can-
to lie my ass off to Dravenche for
What languages does Felzy read again?
current languages Felzy reads? Wrong page. Common, Infernal, Celestial, Abyssal, and Draconic.
Alright, you can read this then because it is in Abyssal. The stamp that is actually over that one city, which, by the way, this does appear that it started off as just a map of the desert, but other things have been filled in on top of it. Like whoever made this map found locations and marked them out on this map. But you can see that one is sort of got that stamp on top of it, and it has written underneath it in Abyssal Labyrinth. It's like it has labyrinth and then question mark, basically. Though I don't think Abyssal really has a conversion of a question mark in its weird, creepy language.
It's just an overly long word, like perhaps.
Pretty much. It's like written in a questioning.
It's like, did you write this, Mountain?
As you say that, you're standing outside the mountain again. You're like looking up and looking around to say that, and you just see the night sky, and you're standing at the entrance to the mountain. Brimstone, Failsy suddenly appears next to you.
Do I still have the map?
You still have it. It's still like in your hands where you picked it up and then looked up or to look around you.
Oh,
If you-
I'm outside.
Cut. Yeah, Brimstone, Failsy just suddenly appears next to you.
Hello.
Is Myth dead?
I think Myth might have died.
Darn it, Myth. Why'd you do a die?
I keep seeing him flash open.
Oh, maybe his microphone just isn't working properly.
Or he's asleep and that's just deep breaths triggering the mic.
He just responded to a message from me.
No, he
Oh.
said no.
Okay.
Maybe,
Is your microphone just screwing up? Try
Must be.
dropping out of the call and jumping back in, see if that fixes it.
technical issues. Yay.
You gotta love them.
Always fun. I heard something there for a second.
I heard like a sound.
I heard a little bit of that.
Here was the start of a word.
Think that's working? Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
There you are.
There it is.
It reset my input sensitivity, I think.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Anyways.
But just
Yeah.
Failsy suddenly appears next to you.
Yeah, Brimstone just kind of looking out and there's... Oh.
Heyo.
It was kind of like how Elway does it, where she just sort of
Yeah.
appears when you weren't looking at her.
Yeah, just... So unless Elway's hiding behind me or you, it means that there's two left in there.
Fails is looking very happy.
She's just holding a piece of paper.
Yeah, just... It seems you came out of that better than Morgan and Treventia, at least.
Wow, I thought they had very nice, times in their lives. I think that's what that place shows.
Yeah, no. Not for everyone, at least.
I got to relive my honeymoon with my wife.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Brimstone, you can also see the fact that she's just holding a piece of paper that's fairly large, but it looks like a sort of map almost. You can tell from the back.
It's a weird looking map.
It's a Flagora desert map.
And I didn't know.
What?
Didn't catch any of that. It was like mumble, mumble, mumble.
Myth, you're breaking up again.
Is your audio jack all the way into the computer?
Okay. How about now?
That's
Hey.
better.
Okay. I just unplugged my mic. So
Well, it
I-
works.
Maybe the
For
audio
now.
jack's Nikki.
It could be. He's just. It's a weird looking map. Anything on it that's new? I figured you'd know the area a bit better than us.
I think it's really old, actually. Like-
Huh.
Like a lot of towns and stuff that probably don't exist anymore.
Fezzy, to clarify, it looks like it at one point was a map of the Flagora Desert as it is now, but it looks like someone's gone through and filled in cities.
Ah, okay. So it looks current.
It looks like it's either current or at least in this time era.
Yeah, relatively recent.
Oh, it looks like a map that someone's already done our job for us in scouring the desert.
Well, that's convenient. That'll at least help us try to figure out places that we're trying to go to.
So success! My hunch was right. I found a map to the desert in this weird ass mountain.
Well, how that connects them.
Well, I thought there was going to be sentient life here that might know some locations.
I mean, it's possible. Anything marked out on it?
Yeah, a place called the Labyrinth.
What languages does Brimstone read?
Not Abyssal.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
If
he just
Felzy
looked
actually
at
lets
it.
you look at this map, you just see that there are like lines on the map that are actively moving. Like the writing is changing.
Yeah, Brimstone just looking at it and just. I got no fucking idea what that's saying.
It's abyssal. It just does that.
I'm gonna take your word.
By the way,
on that.
Felzy, it does look that way to you as well, but actually, no, it doesn't. Wait, yes, it does, because comprehend language didn't work. But it does look that way to you as well. You just understand what the symbols mean.
Before Failsy could cheat and just read every book ever, she had to
Actually
learn
learn
languages.
Abyssal. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna take your word on that because I've never seen that fucking writing before. So
Yeah,
I'm guessing that implies that.
Actually,
Mm,
Brimstone, you
Hmm.
have seen that writing before.
Oh,
Didn't mean to burst your bubble, but you have seen that writing occasionally before.
I mean, yeah, I guess we did go to the Zemoda's temple.
Well, not just the Zemoda's temple.
Okay, in what other context?
Your father.
Oh, right. And, no, wait, I have seen that.
It doesn't look like his handwriting, but it looks like a language he's written in before.
Yeah. Yep. Doesn't look like his handwriting though, thankfully. But I wonder if that means that one of your folk did this or something. Maybe another one of the temples. I don't fucking know.
maybe it's not a common language anymore. It's rather dead.
Yeah, I've noticed you speak a lot of those. Well, at least Abyssal, and then
I'm a scholar. It's my job to know how to read ancient languages.
Yeah, the only one you're currently missing is Giant.
I guess it's fair. And we know someone who speaks that.
And what
mean-
languages I don't know, I can magic myself.
That's fair.
Though I can't speak them, I don't have that spell.
I mean,
But I can speak these languages.
the only like, yeah, I think the only one that Brimstone doesn't know that she can speak is Draconic.
I don't
What's
remember if he's ever heard her speak it before.
I don't know.
She has, but only in expletives and when she's
Yeah, and
like stubbed her toe and just sworn at it.
yeah,
Occasionally
Brimstone-
she'll just hiss, but you assume
Yeah.
that's like snake.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't know that's a language. He just assumes it's just she fucked up. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be worth checking out. Maybe that's where the whole fucking just pointing at the cart. Travincher's fucking thing's pointing. I don't know. In any case, it should help us navigate if it's current, or at least relatively recent.
I don't
That's
suggest,
pretty useful.
although I don't suggest ever trying to speak Bizzle for long periods of time. You'll end up drooling. It's a very guttural and moist-sounding language.
Yeah, I don't. No, I'm good.
That was a yeah. I don't want you to ever say that sentence again.
Yeah, languages and no, and it doesn't work. That's not my kind of learning.
Also, the mountain promised that the baby would be returned. I just don't know where I put her.
I mean, I figured. I don't
On
think
that
it's
note,
malicious, but yeah.
on that note, we're gonna go ahead and call for break. On the note of the mountain said the baby would be returned,
Yeah.
because that would be a perfect moment to scene flop over to Keta.
Yeah. But first, everybody go take bio break, refill water, and all that good stuff.
I have so many liquids that I have imbibed that now need to leave my system.
That's a polite way of saying it. But yeah, I guess we'll take normal time for bio break. Although I would say, because for time constraint, as soon as Ash and Andy are both back, I'm okay with them going ahead and starting, and then we can all just come back in and listen in once we're back.
You know, now I have to make young 10-year-old miserable King Felzy.
Right before she found Snake Wife. Or rather, Snake Wife found her.
It's going to be a sad pick, and
Cute.
little Felzy in chains.
Cute.
I have returned.
I suppose I should add to my
So how is everyone?
map of southern Flagora Desert.
Is everyone having a good time?
Yeah, we're all traumatized.
Whoa!
I'm not traumatized.
With the specific thing Failsy gave me, and that ended up being the one that his was just a very pleasant experience.
Yeah. Fails was just yes. Oh, this. Oh, never mind.
Nice.
This is,
I get to see the first time I had sex with my wife again.
I get to see the first time I met my wife. First time I had sex.
Felzy had a good time.
Yeah, and and then she got knowledge. Her second favorite thing. I assume.
Felzy has so many burns from touching the giant molten armor.
Yeah, the Regalia Flame.
The only reason they're not more severe is because she's a tiefling.
And because there are healers waiting more or less at her beck and call at the temple because they know how accident prone she can be.
It's not really accident prone if it's intentional.
She just comes running into the infirmary going, "Ah, burn my hand!" Heal it.
No, I feel like
She
they
comes
just
back an hour
have.
later.
I feel like they have like 2 or 3 that are just following her, so she doesn't
Here's the
have to
thing.
make that trip back. Just
Here's the thing: Jamel knows how to use magic, and it's almost exclusively used to heal Failsy.
listen.
Why do I get the feeling if we got Jamel as a player, as an NPC character, she'd be
Too
a cleric.
powerful. She's not a cleric, but she does have items that allow her to cast healing spells.
Jamel is straight bark.
Baby is back.
Jamel is actually classed as a fighter.
No, yeah, that makes sense too. I just think it would be funny if he was barb.
Because she doesn't fight with rage. She is fully in control of herself.
Oh wow, robot.
Yeah,
He better boop up.
Oh, it is time for you to die.
not better. Oh, okay. No, I just think Jamel being a barb. Somebody hurts Failsy and they're just dead. They're just gone.
Oh, you have given up your living privileges.
Yeah, someone just punches Failsy and everybody just steps back.
Questioning why everyone's stepping away, boss music starts playing.
Shit. There's a half second of realization before it's just fucking cruise missile Jamel.
Why do I picture it being the one-winged angel theme from Final Fantasy VII.
There's no time for
I
theme
mean,
music. She's
fair?
just there. Just
Really, I really like
she
how
just
everyone like
coils up on her own tail and just fucking spring.
how Fancy's main concern was, oh fuck, I lost the baby. And that's
Her main concern was what?
Oh, fuck, I lost the baby.
Oh. Everybody's been cutting out hard for me. Well, no. It's mostly been Andy and you.
Ah.
Although earlier, before we started the game, oh, fine. Fuck you then.
I can't control it, dude. It wants out.
Apparently.
I've been shaking with anxiety for the moment. It's like, yes, it's like, okay, now we're moving on to catch out. I'm like,
Are you ready for baby trauma?
baby trauma.
Phrasing.
No.
Outright rejection. Just, no.
Watch your phrasing.
Baby, she has
No. Because I said exactly what is intended to be said.
That sounds like a Failsy statement. Failsy, Failsy, watch what you're saying. No. She's out of pure spite.
She does that a lot. It ended up being her rendered unconscious by Jamel.
Yeah.
Hugged to unconsciousness.
I mean, not like Failsy, was actually in any danger.
I'm now just picturing someone punches Failsy and there's jealous some
What?
while Jamel is just T-posing.
Oh.
Like she just got spawned into the world specifically for the purpose of ruining this person.
Okay, but I would like you to imagine that somebody tries to fuck with Lee, and then there's just tiny little, like, guitar music, and then just all of a sudden, flying baby attack.
I want to imagine it's the.
Oh, the old Western music.
Yeah,
That's funny.
but there isn't a bullet fired. It's just
It's just Kata.
Oh,
I'm picturing that after the wow wow part of the song, it's just some rapid strumming, and they're wondering where the fuck is that music coming back from as Ketcha's bull charging while still strumming. Just headbutts straight into the side of the person.
That's why Myth. I guess that's why Myth can then vouch for me getting Alter Self because I have +1 baby nubs.
+1 baby nub. +1 baby.
That's like getting Alter Self +1 baby.
There
Plus
needs to
one.
be a thing in this world called recording spheres.
+1 infant.
There are. You have one.
What? What do we do?
Wait,
Billy
does
has a recording box.
Yeah.
the projection
we-
cube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you still haven't had a chance to look into it because I have the story. We just keep forgetting to look at it because other stuff keeps happening in sessions.
That's fair, but I mean, Failsy needs that actual recording sphere to record her own shit. She would have totally videotaped herself with Gemel.
I mean,
See,
you wouldn't have had it in that moment. You were just a specter.
Here is Egg. Please be my wife.
Failsy knows what's actually that.
I mean, yeah, but it's just
Hey,
funny.
but like outside
Egg.
perspective.
Yeah.
Here's Egg, be wife, please.
Here's Egg,
The-
please, wife.
The family save version for the stream is that the Zemotus Temple, the queens of the temple, which Jamel is one of, are ridiculously long-lived, but often end up taking mortal partners. So what they have are these things that are referred to as mating stones, which,
Wife,
whilst it is
wife egg.
yes, or wife eggs, which while it is with a person, their lifespan will not be any shorter than the queen
Oh, nice.
because it ties their life forces together.
So Failsy has an egg in her?
Yeah, it's not too important to think about where.
Darn.
The where is not important.
There is no god, only egg.
There's no kind of egg. I really wanted to find that meme. Can I offer you an egg in these trying times when it was mentioned?
Failsy, I might have to commission you to do a redraw of that.
I offer you an egg in these wifing times.
I am back.
We're all back.
Let's start.
Baby time.
Felseal. I haven't played that one yet. I want to.
Talk about it later.
Okay. All right. Let me switch the music over. All right. So, Keta, you decided to walk yourself into this place alongside Failsy. Though it is only just now that you realize that there's no Failsy. You look back behind you. The entrance that you walked in through is gone.
Oh no. Can I like touch the tusk necklace and then like take it off and hold it in my hand? Yeah. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
The wall seemed
Where am I?
recount.
Recall?
Yes.
Well, I remember I'm in the Mountain of Reflection.
Yes.
Well, I guess you have something to show me then.
Indeed.
And she'll start walking forward, and she'll actually start singing to herself and seeing if like the sound bounces off the walls anyway.
You sort of get like a vibration around you off the wall to your side, but as you're sort of into the hallway, you never actually hear an echo.
Remember what?
You never actually hear an echo.
This is strange.
Perspective. Strange. Odd. Normal.
Perspective is always strange.
I actually didn't hear what you just said, sorry.
Perspective is always strange.
Perhaps. Dependent, reliant, person. Perspective, different.
Yeah. She's gonna kind of continue on forward until she sees something that makes her stop.
Alrighty then. As you are continuing forward, you do notice a couple of things sort of just lining. Occasionally, there are small lining the hallway, like little
What?
children. There are like small children's toys lining the hallway. It's a bit odd, actually, because you're looking around and you do notice quite a few of them. And as you're progressing forward, more and more of them.
You drop out for a second because you're cutting in and out for me. Hello? Hi. I assume I know.
Any-
Hello?
Any better now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I assume I recognize one of them.
I mean, they're just like general children's toys.
Huh.
You don't specifically recognize any of them, simply because a lot of them appear to be of a very... you do actually notice a couple of them do appear to be toys that are carved by Nicholas.
Interesting.
But those were further towards the beginning of the hallway where you first started seeing these toys. The further back you go, it starts going into different makes and models and some different styles of toys.
Very curious.
Eventually, though, you do see a picture frame, like the frame of a painting, but the painting itself is turned away from you.
Can I stop and inspect it?
Sure, you just stop and like flip it around. I'm asking if that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Sorry, Discord's apparently being
Okay,
a butt
sorry.
tonight.
It's just being a butt. Yeah, so you flip. Like, take a little bit of effort, actually. The painting frame itself is fairly heavy. Probably weighing a good 40, 50 pounds. Though when you
Wow.
flip it over, you notice why. It's because the is actually frame. The person depicted on it just appears to be a human
Still playing off
woman.
human?
I mean, a rather pretty human, probably around age. Just has a very smile on her face. And you don't recognize her.
kind of touches the face for a second, and she says quietly, "I'm sorry your story has left you here."
Story left? No. Remembered? Yes.
That's a nicer way to think about it. Very trapped in crystals.
Trapped? No. Remembered? Yes.
And she'll set down the picture frame, and she will continue forward.
Alright. As you're progressing forward, you begin to notice more of these picture frames. Any of them you flip over, they are other women. Some of them men, but just all a little bit older in years. But they all seem to be painted in this very similar way, where it's sort of a portrait painting, sort of slightly in profile, but not quite. Very much in the pose of the sort of Mona Lisa-esque painting, where they're sort of like sitting in different scenes.
None
It's-
of them look recognizable.
Make for me a history check.
Here's Keta, there's the baby sheet.
Yes, baby history check.
Sorry, roll 20 is being a tad slow.
Understandable.
Me clicking things. History. 6.
As you're going through, none of these faces seem familiar to you. Though you have to had these portraits made. One they could have had a great deal of money and just felt like flaunting it. Or two, they very dearly cared about people, because every single one of these portraits is framed in all elaborate gold frame. And the actual front of the canvas itself, you can feel, has this sort of film over top of it to protect the oils inside of the painting.
Weirdly enough, does this amount of care, would it remind Katja of the stories of the fact that she knows that Graynham has had portraits painted of all the people he's fell in love with?
It very much reminds you of that. So, while you don't recognize the faces, the process seems very similar to one you've heard about.
Must have cared for you a whole lot. All of you.
Care, love, passion.
It is
Fit-
truly a active passion.
Perhaps. Perhaps. Loss,
been-
heavy.
I mean, there's a lot of paintings here.
Yeah, just in the last 30 or 40 minutes you've been walking, you've at least seen what feels like one every minute you've been walking. It's almost kind of eerie because they're sort of lining this hallway.
One who has loved and lost this much must be old.
Old? Though, age, for sure.
And she'll just continue on, just kind of taking care to run her fingers along each one of the like edges of the picture frames.
Yeah.
It's like a memory honored.
And it is. And you can tell there was a great deal about these because every single frame is different. And you notice each one has small engravings in it depicting different things. Some of them depicting the faces of children, other ones depicting like great harvests, some still depicting combat. It seems each one of the frames themselves, it was the actual memento made to honor the thing is just made to.
They were.
It's quite. Sorry, go ahead and say your thing.
Yeah. She's kind of musing out loud. I wonder if Granddad's paintings look like this at all.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Grandfather. God? Divine? Perhaps.
I mean, I wouldn't technically call him divine. He doesn't have a full divine essence.
Divinity. Requirement.
Objective.
Perspective.
She's just gonna kind of continue down the hall.
Alright. It's quite a while before you ever see one of these flat. But eventually you do come across one after what feels like. God, it's even hard to count. You don't know how long you've been in the mountain at this point. At least.
Daytime.
Yeah, you're not dying, so it's not daytime, but it feels like it's been a good 5, 6 of walking. You don't ever feel tired, it's weird.
I think after a certain point, she just breaks into actually singing instead of just humming.
Yep. Fair enough, just to pass the time, more or less.
Yeah. When she finds one of these flat surfaces, she'll stop and kind of tilt and see her reflection for a moment.
Right. Head and sort of look into it. You do not see your reflection.
Oh.
You see Vivian's reflection.
See Mom?
Yes, you see Vivian in her full battle armor.
Reach out and touch the flat surface because she misses her mom.
It sort of has this weird sensation, and then it feels like you just slip into the mirror, ending in the middle of a battlefield. You're watching as your mother is just hacking down these weird malformed humanoids left and right, occasionally stopping because another soldier will fall off their feet. She just immediately lifts them back up onto them and just jumps right.
Ow.
It's kind of bizarre because at one point she slashes something and sends its head flying through your body.
Wow. Mom is so cool.
Yeah, you can actually watch this, and you can go ahead and make a perception check for me. 15, not bad. You're actually trying to keep your eyes on a swivel, just watching everything that's playing out around you. This entire battlefield's in pretty sharp focus, and to be frank, it's fairly gory as well, but oddly enough, probably not the worst thing you've ever seen. Which is terrible.
Yeah.
But there's also a weird sort of disconnect going on because you're just watching it from a third perspective. But you're just watching.
Oh, sorry.
What did you say? Sorry.
Does Keta see her dad anywhere?
You're actually looking around at the moment. You see a lot of armored individuals wearing armor very similar to your father's, but due to that, you're not entirely sure if one of them is his.
She'll keep her eyes on her mom, kind of occasionally falling if her mom's going forward.
So occasionally you just follow as she steps further forward into the battlefield as her and her platoon just push back this onslaught.
Mom is so cool!
At one point with your perception, you do hear the sort of sound. And
God.
at this exact moment, you sort of see the memory sort of slow down as Vivian, current being distracted by removing the heads off of several of these entities, did not notice that a large ballista had been loaded and aimed at her. But as you're watching this slow motion event play out, you just watch as individuals rushes forward and brings up their shield, but the ballista missile goes straight through the shield and into their chest. And the memory picks back up into normal speed. You watch them stagger backwards, but they don't drop off their feet.
Oh shit, that person's cool.
You do notice that in this moment, you were watching sort of the ballista's trajectory fly forwards, but it did actually cause this person's helmet to get thrown off their head.
The dad?
Yep, you just see your father's face, considerably younger, as he just goes, pathetic, and rips the ballista out of his chest.
Oh my god. Oh my.
If you look at your mother in this moment, there's like a pause, just like, okay, as the battle continues to wage on.
Oh, that is so cool.
And as you're looking around, you do actually at one point look out behind you, and you see a much younger Brimstone as well with a bow. A bow considerably larger than most other of the infantry members here. As he just pulls it back, carefully lines up the shot, fires, and goes through both of the ballistiers operating that war weapon.
He's always been so cool.
Yeah, and you just see around you this battlefield playing out. Eventually, the sounds of battle over the course of this next 10-15 minutes begin to die down as the losses on Vivian's minimal. You, in fact, only notice one of their paladins seems to have fallen. But you watch as she just paladin kneels down next to them and says a quick prayer as another paladin brings forth a diamond towards her. And suddenly, the fallen comrade stands back up.
Keta is looking at her with like sad eyes, realizing that she's probably had to do this so many times, and realizing that she's probably the cause of many soldiers having to get back up and just get back out there.
Yeah. If you want to, you can actually make a check related to that.
Would it be an insight check?
This would be a history check with advantage, because you probably have asked your father about this before.
Just 20.
Alright. Alright. Okay. It did take quite a bit of prying to get this out of your father, and at points you've had to talk to Brimstone about it as well. More willing to talk about this stuff. Mostly just because he doesn't seem to care very much.
Yeah.
But you're eventually able to get out that Vivian's platoon specifically, but it was another platoon that supported her that was referred to as the Revenant's Regiment. And it was essentially made up of the soldiers for some reason refused to die on the battlefield. And for some reason, they could be revived. Not everyone want to be revived. There has to be some connection to them for to work on them. But for some reason, despite having no divine heritage or anything of the sort, were able to keep standing back up. And through Brimstone and through Redemption, mostly through Redemption about this, you do learn that the Revenant's... I should have named that such a complicated thing to say. The Revenant's regimen, that was what Redemption referred to as a but necessary portion of the army. Though you could tell he had no pride when explaining that.
Does the memory seem to be continuing soon as like Vivian is like reviving this man and like getting him up? Does it seem to be like fading out at the end of this?
It seems to not be at the moment, but you do watch as he sort of gets brought back to his feet. He is still ushered towards a recovery tent towards the back of the battlefield. Because being revived still takes a toll on a person. They need time to recover.
Yeah.
But you do see that the memory sort of sticks around for a moment. And it's pretty much as you see Vivian walking towards Redemption, you assume to heal him. Though she doesn't stop with just healing him, she just grabs the front of his armor and the memory starts to fade out as you just see her make out with him.
Well, it makes sense. Makes sense.
You do recall Redemption has explained to you that that's more or less how he met your mother. Or not how he met her, but rather how they first got together.
Well, and if she sees herself standing back there, she's just kind of start like giggling to herself a little bit, and she's like, "I can't believe that's how they actually met."
You do distinctly remember that your father downplayed the size of that bolt, because that was a straight-on ballista arrow he tanked and got hit in the chest with, and he's always explained it to essentially just have been an oversized... And he never mentioned the fact that it went before it hit him. So, for some reason, your father decided to downplay that scenario.
She's like holding her face. Dad, that was like the coolest thing in the world. Why would you downplay that? I mean, it's probably because it was war, but that was still cool.
But yeah, then the memory starts to... You're back in the hallway.
Sorry. My microphone was picking me up for a second. And she kind of like looks around and goes, "That was an interesting perspective."
Association. Blood. Trail. Remember? Respective. Perspective.
I think it makes a bit more sense why Mom loved him. I mean, he did take a whole ass ballista bolt for her with no second thought.
Divine. Desire. Respect. Love.
She's just gonna kind of press the tusk to her heart. And she's gonna continue walking down the hall.
Alright. You start to notice things around you. Isn't say the actual detail of the paintings and how lively they seem to be, assuming you're actually still flipping them around and looking at the paintings themselves.
Yeah, it's definitely.
You're noticing that there's a lot more life in the paintings as you're going further in. Like, the ones near the beginning of this trail where you first started walking, they definitely still felt, but they were static. They were just sitting images, and most of them were the exact same. But as you travel further inwards, they start to become more lively, with different poses, actions being taken in the paintings themselves. The framing themselves actually become more simple, still with a bit of engraving that makes each one respectively different, but they aren't like methodically engraved to have details of the person's life. They just seem to be symbolic.
Can I keep an eye out as I'm going down to see if one may look like Vivian?
Sure, make an investigation check.
Because it came to mind to see if one looks like her grandmother.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
4.
Unfortunately, you're going through, and the thing about it is you're seeing so many faces that even in your current mind, as you're trying to focus on them, they're starting to look kind of similar.
A face blindness.
Yeah, you're seeing so many new faces that your brain is stopping recognizing them.
I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
I mean, you've already essentially met 60 new people in the span of 5 hours, so it's a lot for your brain to take in and try to recollect.
So I think for a time being, she'll only flip over the occasional one, but still kind of continue to see if she can find any more of those flat surfaces.
Alrighty then. It's another few hours before you find another surface. This one is actually surrounded. The frequency of the painting surrounding this one actually grows. Like, it goes from like one every minute, so one almost every few paces.
Wow.
And you just see this mirror in front of you now.
Looking into it, I assume I don't see myself.
No. You see an older, sort of salt and pepper haired man, beard trimmed fairly close to his features, though still a little bit bushy. A kind smile. You see the god Granum.
Dad. I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of reach out and touch the mirror.
Alright. This time you touch the mirror and you sort of phase into a memory of the throne room of the Emerald Bastion.
This is new.
Yep. On the actual throne, you do not see the god Granum. He stands beside the throne. You know for a fact that, despite the fact that everyone regards Granum as the be-all, end-all source of law, the sort of constant divine example of what people should attempt to do, he himself ruled over the Emerald Kingdom. He has always left that to a long line of heroes that have continuously helped save man. And this is a thing that's always sort of gotten him flack from the other gods whenever there's sort of international politics talk between them, where they always refer to him as being one of the weaker ruling gods, even if he is one of the more respected. And that is because he himself does not claim rule over his country.
Doesn't see himself as a king, he sees himself as one of his people.
Yeah. That is a thing that is often scattered about, is Granum the god does not see himself as a god, he sees himself as a man with power. That's kind of why he's always been one of the more respected gods, because he does not treat him above others. Though it's also gotten him flack from other kingdoms who think that the divine ruler should be above others. But you just sort of see him as he is standing now, just presiding over this event that's occurring. The words are sort of blurring out. You can tell that Granum himself not exactly paying attention. He seems to sort of be zoning out in the moment as he's... You can almost see him as he's thinking about 1,000 things at once. The actual event that you can see occurring around you appears to be some dignitary speaking to the actual king about taxes or something of that nature. Definitely appears to be money talk. You see that it's of no interest to Granum.
Can I like walk up next to him?
Of course, you're only a few feet away from him when the memory picks up.
I should just kind of look, stand next to him and look out and go, I wonder what you're thinking about.
You can actually, as you walk up next to him, you can start hearing him mumbling to himself.
What is he mumbling?
Make a perception check. Or as Failsy decided to call it, a perspective check.
17.
Alrighty then. 17, not bad. The harvest is coming, and it's for the best as well. We need to make preparations for the war effort. Funds to redistribute. We'd have to do our best to make sure we're not lost in this war times. Dry. Not to mention his constant pursuit of trying to find his stupid armor.
Kenta looks at him with a sad smile and goes, always the weight of the world on your shoulders.
At one point, you see him sort of like stop his like father as the king sort of like taps him on the shoulder. Do you think I should be permitting them to raise the taxes in this colony? Don't personally think it would be for the best, but I know we're trying to prepare and everything. And Graham just thinks for a moment. Unfortunately, I don't believe it's an option. With how things are about to go, we need as much as we can provide. That's fair. I'll have them raise it for the time being, but once the worst of the war efforts is over, we're going to have them lowered again, despite what they would love to claim as retribution. You just see the king readdress this dignitary and explain that until the wartime efforts are over, they are permitted to raise the taxes in their colony. And just you see this memory sort of play over several times, each time the dignitary changing, where it just seems to be this constant sort of drone of blah 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 money, blah 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 taxes, blah 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 more.
What? I wonder if this is the first time you met Grandmom. This was, I guess.
Hard to say.
Just kind of stand next to him and just, I imagine after a bit she kind of at least drones out some of the conversation because it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, you do notice that a couple of times the not only the dignitary changes, but the king itself changes. Like you watch as the king is replaced with a completely different man. At one point, it's not a king; it's a queen, and it's just a cycle of this same type of conversation. Not always about money, not always about land, but it always seems to be this constant drone of just politics. And Granum is always present for these, as far as you're aware, but clearly has very little interest in this.
I wouldn't either.
You do notice occasionally throughout these memories, though, there are moments where his attention is drawn elsewhere.
Definitely looking where his attention's drawn.
It happens 3, maybe 4 times in the, not gonna lie, several hundreds of revolutions of this same pattern you see. Seemingly every 100 or so, you seem to get a new person that his attention gets drawn by. And it's a selection of men and women that he seems to look upon fondly. I will not lie, mostly women, but there are a couple of times where it is a man.
At that, after a certain amount of time of just standing, so she's like walking around the room and just like, drawn by those you are fun to. Very curious.
After about the 4th or 5th time you see his attention get drawn away, there is one that specifically catches your eye as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, a woman that looks like a older, less hard Vivian.
It's definitely gonna kind of go up over to her and just see her.
At this current moment, she appears to be sort of garbed in an almost secretary-esque outfit. Obviously not like a modern one, but sort of almost like a scribe's robe.
Yeah.
And she's just taking notes of the actual rulings going on. Almost, what is the word I'm trying to think of here? Official?
Actually.
No, what's the word of someone who writes down in a court?
Stenographer.
Cartographer. Wait, what? Stenographer.
Yes, stenographer.
Basically, she's
Thank
taking
you.
the minutes.
Yep. Yeah, she seems to be playing the role of stenographer in this scene. Though you notice that... Sorry.
Sorry. You go.
I was going to say, though you do notice that once she does notice, Judith smiles, and there's like a moment where she's sort of taken by his gaze. Paper realizes she hasn't written anything for a minute and starts feverishly writing.
Oh my goodness. Kind of standing by her grandmother, she looks at Graham and goes, "Ooh, the scribe. I cannot think of a more boring way to meet someone you love."
And that is where the memory actually begins to fade out.
She's just happy she gets to see her grandmother in person and see what she was like.
The memory fades out, and you're standing back in the hallway again.
There's
There are-
tears coming down her face now.
Sad? Happy?
Bittersweet, I guess.
Sappy.
I guess since I was always at home, I had this worked up idea of love in my head, and seeing how my mom met my dad, and seeing how my grandparents met, it. I guess I don't know.
Life, memory, blood, rot, meetings, departures, many. Perspective.
Just, I think it's just making me miss Lee.
Lee.
He's a long story. I think you have more to show me.
Storied past. Interesting. Perhaps. More to show?
Maybe.
Maybe.
And just so Kekta feels a bit more comforted as she's walking, she'll tell this mysterious voice about Lee.
It never really seems to respond after that point, but does seem... Oddly enough, you can tell it must be interested.
And the whole time she's walking, she's not paying attention to any of the paintings. She's just holding the necklace in her hand and just kind of turning it over and over again.
It's actually after that point you realize, after a period, after another hour or so of walking, there are no more paintings. The toys are gone, the paintings are gone. In fact, the hallway is just desolate.
Oh, I have a feeling what I might see next, but I don't want to, but I know I have to. I can do it. I can do it.
You see another mirrored surface coming up on your right.
She'll stop once she gets to it and just look at whose reflection is in the mirror.
You see Grainum again, though this time he himself is wearing armor.
Very reluctantly, she places her whole palm against the mirror.
You see the scene fade in around you. Grainum standing with a look of shame on his face. Something floating in front of him, though your current perspective is standing behind. You can hear the sound of wheels turning behind you.
Just gonna give a cursory look behind her to see what the wheel sound is.
You see a massive figure, iron spears jammed through its body, being wheeled away.
Keta lets out a kind of choked sob. It's like she holds herself and looks at him and goes, "Was it worth it?" And she's gonna kind of walk around and look at him face to face and go, "Was it all worth it?"
You see the face of a man who doesn't know, but a man who did what he had to, at least from his perspective.
Never hurt you.
You see in his hands this sort of gently swirling ball of white-green energy.
Did what he had to do for his people. To save humanity. I guess I should be thankful. I'm alive because of what you did. But only in prison, someone who doesn't deserve to be imprisoned. His pain echoes throughout all of us. And I think you still know that.
You sort of have to look around you at this point, and you notice that there are figures standing around. Many of them are knights who appear to be walking towards Grainum to congratulate him. But you sort of look on beyond that and realize the scene you're standing in appears to be some form of amphitheater or coliseum. You're just standing in this massive circular room where you can see that there are several holes scattered about it where ballistas you can see positioned are set. Likely to be what shot the being known as himself with those iron rods.
Stand up.
You can just hear Granum sigh before the rest of these people can approach him. And he forces himself to remove the expression from his face. You just hear one of the guards sort of chirp up, just like, "Good job, sir. We weren't sure if we'd actually be able to catch that thing. Though I've got to say, he had quite a few subordinates with him. It was surprising we were able to stop them all from getting in our way."
What did you do to them?
He actually starts walking up, who they currently have someone struggling in their grasp as roll along by her hair. "Yeah, we even captured one." He just lifts her up.
No.
And you can just see this black-eyed with these piercing teal blue eyes child. Small red horns coming out of her head. "Surprising she slipped by us, but like with all of them, it's your decision on what we do with her."
I assume Kata recognizes who this is.
It definitely looks like Tutilla. At least a really young version of her. You can see Granum just forcibly place this hard expression on his face. "We have what we came for. There's nothing she can do. Let her free." "You sure, boss? That seems like a pretty bad idea. Don't want her coming back to bite us." "She won't. Trust me, she won't." You can see some murmuring around the other guards around him. You can sort of pick out the words they're saying, just like, "I don't think that's a good call. That we shouldn't do that. Should just kill her here. Make sure she can't be an issue later on."
No. You fucking bastards.
And you can almost see there's this weird split you can see in this vision. You can witness what's and the internal expression of pain on this, at this point, just a man's face. Not a god yet.
Something! She's just a child.
Alright. And you can see the memory sort of flash back into presence. "Alright. Listen, you bastards. Leave her with me. I'll make sure she won't do anything. I'll personally see to it." That seems to alleviate all of the other knights' concerns.
Oh, bastards.
They do still class Tutilla in irons before more or less handing her over to the man Granum. The scene sort of quickly plays out as the rest of these people leave. And Granum is just left standing alone in this coliseum. With this child next to him. Once you can tell everyone is gone, he just turns towards her. "What am I gonna do?" She doesn't say anything.
Don't, prisoner, please don't.
He just kneels down in front of her. "Listen, I don't want to do this. I wish I had a choice. I didn't want to do any of this. But I'm the only one of these goddamn bastards strong enough to do anything. If he had been on our side, I wouldn't have had to.
I've never been on your side.
At this point, over the course of watching this whole time as he's waited for everyone to leave, that spark did slowly drift into his chest. You could see this weird light permeating his form now. It looks almost wrong in a way around him. They want me to kill you. I don't want to do that. But I can't just leave you to interrupt this all.
Embrace it, child.
And he walks around behind her, puts a hand on the back of her neck, and you can just hear the most blood-curdling scream you've ever heard as he sears her flesh with a brand that seemingly forms out of his palm. And she begins to... these bone-like protrusions coming out of her body. And she's just thrashing wildly against the irons around her. There. You should never be able to use magic again. That way they definitely can't think you'll ever disturb us. Run and never let them catch you. As long as you don't fight me, I won't have to kill you. He lifts a hand, the door to the Colosseum raises, and the child, now mutating into this strange, hunched form, just sprints out. And he just looks down at his hands and slowly closes them into fists. You can't see them through the gauntlets, but you can tell that from the creaking of the metal that he's white-knuckled right now.
Is just looking after Totila, muttering, "I'm so sorry."
And the memory starts to fade as he starts to walk in the same direction towards the rest of his men.
And once Kenta finds herself standing out there again, and she just says, "I wonder what you did to the others." Had to do what you had to do, but it's just so wrong.
Wrong? Right? Perspective.
Just no wrong and right here. What had to be done, but the way it went about was awful.
Perhaps. View, hatred, loss, pain.
Well, do you have any more to show me?
The voice does not answer, but the hallway continues to stretch on.
She'll continue on, and, just in silence.
You notice as you continue to walk on, the hallway itself changes a little bit. There's a gentle layer of dirt coating the bottom of the hallway as small flowers are blooming up alongside the path.
course, of course. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. Continue walking.
All right, then. You continue walking forward for quite some time yet again, before eventually you do catch sight of another one of those mirrored surfaces. Though this one in of itself looks odd. Every other surface has been this sort of flat, perfectly rectangular mirror, but this one is rounded at the edges and appears to have vines growing around it.
She see Graynham when she looks in the mirror.
No, you don't see anything when you look in the mirror.
I'll do the same thing I did before.
You sort of touch the mirror surface, and for a second, nothing happens. And you sort of have to push, and nothing happens. Until finally you hear not the voice of the mountain emerge from the mirror's surface. Are you interested in something?
She's gonna look around to see if she could see the source of the voice.
It's coming from the mirror, but you see no figure reflected.
There's a reflection here, I guess I'm supposed to see. Of who I do not know.
Odd. I hear your voice from the surface of a pond. Hold your hand out.
And she'll hold her hand out.
You can almost hear this sort of like bloop, bloop sound as a hand reaches out of the mirror.
Grab the hand.
It sort of has this sort of almost tan pink colored skin. Almost a bit like rose petals.
She's dreading who she's gonna find on the other side of this mirror because she has an idea of who it may be and she's not liking her odds.
You are pulled into the mirror's surface, and this is the first time you physically feel yourself pass through it.
I stumble a bit.
And it's jarring. You don't know how to describe the sensation, but for a split second, there's a spike of agonizing pain as you take
Okay.
Sorry, I'm waiting for dice to roll because Roll20 is being slow. Oh, that was the wrong dice Roll20 to roll. I did not mean to roll those dice Roll20. As you take 12 points of psychic damage. It almost feels like the same sort of sensation when you touch those crystals in the other vision. But you are physically pulled through the mirror, and when your vision clears from the momentary spike of pain, you see this figure standing in front of you. Hello.
Just starts crying.
No, that is odd.
Sorry.
Tears I do see, but poison.
See the person behind it.
I suppose I can. And he reaches a hand out and sort of brushes the tears away from your eyes. it's weird. Your current perspective of him makes him feel both giant and it's bizarre. Like your whole like vision around you of this surrounding sort of clearing of a grove just constantly shifts and contorts. You've never experienced something like this before. You're not even sure if your brain is processing it properly.
And there's a momentary hesitation as like he's going to touch her face, and like she's very anxious, but she like lets him wipe away the tears. And
it's a very gentle notion. He just gently brushes a thumb across your eye. There we go. That's better. Why were you in my pond?
is
Are you lost?
Yes.
Not normally a place one would get lost.
Lost looking for memories.
Ah, now that is a way someone can get lost.
You are himself, I assume.
You must be from the kingdom of men. That is what they call me over there.
Yeah.
Strange to see you have wandered this far, then. No matter. My grove does not banish you, which means you are welcome.
I never thought I'd actually get to meet you like this.
I suppose it is strange. I have only just recently shepherded you all to this world.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh no. Oh no. She's like patting herself.
He just gently puts a hand on your cheek. Calm down.
I'm not supposed to be here.
I do suppose your kingdom of against venturing into the dominion of Fae.
No. I know it won't make sense to you, but I'm not from this time.
There's his head, but an understanding look.
I'm from far into the future, I guess.
A child of a child. Separated by blood. My own was on you. Curious.
There's a look of shame and regret on her face, the kind of same look Graham had on his face.
He just gently sort of lifts your features back up to look at him. No need for that. No cause of your own. And I can see in your eyes that it was never something desired. I hold no ill will for a decision of that nature.
The stories I've ever heard about you painted you to be something like a monster.
That would have been my mother. But she was never around in this world. Well, I will do you this one favor then. If you are from a time not our own, and I can see in your eyes a great deal of regret, I'll remember you. And you can remember me. Tell me your name, your true name.
My name is Keta Phaedra and Drakenfell. Keta. And she takes the tusk necklace from her hand and offers it up to him. A token. to remember me by.
He just gently shakes his head. I know your face. Forget the face. And I know your name. And as in kind, though I trust you will not give this to others, my name is Jamia.
Oh, fuck. There's a wide-eyed look in her face, like it's like the oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Jamia, Sirer of the Rose Garden.
Oh.
I will type that out so the stream can see, and so everyone else can see how that's spelled.
She's gonna use his hand and get a good look at his features.
You see these what seem to at first him be very far away from you, but sort of he steps closer and the perspective shifts, and he's still considerably taller than you are, probably around 8 to 9 feet tall. But he just sort of kneels down on these very goat-esque legs he has, just sort of bends down so you can look at him.
After getting a good look at his features, she's just gonna. Before I go, could I hug you?
He just closes his eyes, smiles, and opens his arms.
She's gonna hug him tight. And just remember this feeling.
He just very gently wraps his arms around you as well. And despite how much larger he is than you, his frame itself is small. Even at your small size, you can almost wrap your arms completely around him. He definitely doesn't seem to be the monster the world tries to make him out to be.
Never the monster.
But eventually, he lets go and gently puts his hands on your shoulders. I can feel the nature of time slipping around you. You probably should not stay much longer.
I have a lot of people to get back to, and a lot more stories to tell.
Well, I sense that we will meet in the coming days. Perhaps not even this world's. But sometime we will meet. And I'll be waiting for you.
Sure to seek you out.
He just gives you a little pat on the head.
And you're gonna kind of look back at the pool and just wave at him, and then step back into the pool.
You sort of step into the pool, and it fled around before you suddenly sink at a rapid pace back through its surface, and you're just spit back out the mirror. Almost violently.
Alright, oh god, okay. Wow. Wow.
The hallway still continues onwards.
Good trip.
However, you far distance a light at the end of the hallway.
Like sunlight?
Like a final door, final mirror reflecting the otherwise pale but present light hallway back toward.
Happily, she's gonna jog towards the last mirror.
Alright then. I have to find something real quick. Give me a second. Because I don't want to describe this wrong. Gotta be in here somewhere. Sorry, there's so many notes I have in storage.
It's okay. I'm just like, oh god, I got to meet him.
I thought I had a picture of her somewhere here.
Oh no. I think it is. Oh no.
Sorry for the delay, guys. I want to find this and make sure I'm describing this correctly.
It's okay.
Alright then. Oh well, I remember it well enough, I hope. So you continue forward. It takes a while still to reach the end of this hallway. But the final surface does lay before you. And in its surface, you see a sort of gray-skinned, sort of strong-framed woman standing alongside several companions. A tiefling, sort of weirdly tall, yellow-skinned goblinoid man, and two others. And you just see this strange perspective of it looking at them.
So it almost looks like what?
It almost looks like the mirror is from the perspective of someone's eyes rather than a reflected surface.
Look to see where they're looking.
They're looking at this crowd, like this group of people. What looks to be a group of adventurers.
Curious. And against a mirror to see if it will do anything.
You don't seem to phase into this one. But you can almost hear. Just heard. Alright, you all. That's your current task. Let's go see how many people we can save before the world ends.
What?
And then the mirror surface darkens, and a handle appears on
it. She's gonna toss open that door.
You see the same circular room that every other companions have seen. This platform leading towards the center, leading into the center of the room. But you don't currently see anything on the platform.
She's just gonna kind of cautiously walk forward.
Right.
And walk around the platform.
You take a step forward, and you hear this little sound. Like a small crack of wood. But it's so tiny and so insignificant that the only reason you heard it is because the otherwise deafening silence of this place. And with every step forward, you start to hear more gentle cracking and this sort of weird creak. And by the 5th step forward, you start to see a little green vine poke over the edge of the platform that you're walking towards.
King. And once I get to the platform, I'm gonna look at the vine.
As you get closer and closer to the platform, you see more vines start to poke up and around it until you get to the where the whole platform has been blanketed in these thorned vines. In the very center, a single rose is blooming.
I'm supposed to take the rose?
You have no response, but it seems to be waiting for you.
He is gonna be careful of the thorns, if there are any.
There are, but they don't seem to be growing in a way to harm you.
She's gonna be very careful with taking that rose.
Just sort of reach forward, gently grab it by the stem, and it seems to almost separate off into your hand. And as you sort of turn and inspect it and look away, you suddenly realize you're standing back at the entrance to the Mountain of Reflection. Thalesy and Brimstone, Kieta suddenly appears next to you.
So I think Lee's still there?
Lee is currently walking up, and he has a tray of cookies and a pitcher of lemonade. Just like, he just stops as he sees you appear. Adjusts the tray into one hand and then wipes his eye. Like speed walking without even vibrating the tray at all.
It's because the tray's actually floating.
No, he's holding it. His hands just are perfectly counterbalancing the motion of his arms.
No, I know. It would be funny if that's why, though.
Fair enough. It would make sense.
The second he gets up to her, she's gonna like wrap her arms around him and just give him a kiss and say, "I missed you."
Wait, careful! I'm holding cookies. He like puts them over your head as you're wrapping your arms around him.
Oh, look, there's the baby.
Roll off my buttons.
Missed you.
You've only been gone for like an hour.
I felt like more.
That's fair. You guys want some cookies and lemonade?
Brimstone! You never told me my dad took a full ballista bolt to the fucking chest. Went through a shield.
Myth, if you're talking, we can. There you go.
Really? Oh. Yeah. What a ballista does.
Call it. I saw it happen.
And it doesn't surprise me.
Then I got to see how Granda met my grandma. Very interesting. He's very into nerdy girls. And guys sometimes.
Checks out, Brimstone.
It's like, given what Failsy's seen in her own memories, it's like, what the hell did you watch, Keta?
What do you think?
I'm just. I don't want to know what you saw.
Look what I got.
Are you still hugging Lee this whole time? And you just like make Lee turn
No,
so they can see your hands?
She would have let go of him after she gave him a kiss.
Okay.
And I got
Your
Breaking up, Myth.
things are messing up again.
Fucking damn it.
I love how the god fucking damn it is the only part that actually get picked up. It's like me when I scream when my microphone is not working.
What color is the rose, by the way? Is it a red rose?
Yes, it is a red rose.
You got a flower. Do I smell any
Elsie.
magic on it? Yes.
You feel an ungodly amount of magic coming off of that thing.
Like heavy enchantment, or I could
No,
use this as
just ambient magic. You've seen plants that grow in magic-rich areas, and they sort of always have this like feeling of energy around them. You've never encountered a plant that just feels heavy around it.
I'd ask where you got that from, but I already know.
To see himself? Anyway, it's hard to describe. He's very nice. He gives good hugs.
You're still broken up, Myth.
Don't know if he's trying to talk or not.
I can see him flashing on the
Might be just him moving around. Yeah, I got to meet himself. He gives good hugs.
So not just a reflection, but you also got to meet.
Don't
Is
think
himself a god?
Maybe. I don't know. Not quite sure yet.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I understand it very well, but from what the weird horny lady talked about, probably like a big god, like a bigger god, because like didn't they say that Granum got his powers from this thing?
Yes, he's a very powerful archfey that seemed to have ushered all of us into this world, which is very confusing, and I have to do more research about that.
So you one-upped Dravenche in going straight to the big god.
I guess I did.
Yeah, catch her, stick it to him.
A very
Don't literally though.
differentiate
He's had a hard
second.
time. Don't stab him.
I'm not gonna stab him.
Like, don't hug him too hard. He might stab him.
I also got to see what kind of happened to Dilla, and I need to say sorry to her. At least I mean, I didn't cause it, but I still feel bad.
What happened to her?
Yeah, there's a very kind of far off, distant look in her eyes.
Ah, yes, that PTSD 1,000-yard stare.
It wasn't pretty. That's the least I can say about it. But, yeah, I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do now. If I'm supposed to do it, at least. We're missing Madame Elway, aren't we?
She should be around here somewhere. She hasn't come out yet, I don't think.
Do what she's gonna see.
And unless she's hiding.
You mention her, and she does not appear.
I'm concerned.
She's probably still in there. Give her about 5.
Do we want to wait in the cart for her? Or do we want to wait out here for her?
I'm fine to wait here for the moment. Also, I got a map, and it probably shows us where Dravenche wants to go.
Hey.
I
Just
don't
need to
like
line
the
up.
desert.
Why not? The desert's full of treasure. It's just everywhere, lying in the sand.
I don't like the sand.
It's coarse, and it's rough, and it gets everywhere.
God damn it.
I was just thinking,
Like it because it's hot.
Also, it's hard, it's dry, and my nipples are chafed.
That sounds like a you problem, Lee.
Yeah, that does sound like a you problem, buddy.
I put honey on him and it made it worse. Honey helps when you get chapped lips. I thought it might help. It's like you can make a stick out of honey and balm oil, and it like really helps when you get chapped lips.
You at
didn't
least
have
clean off your nipples.
Maybe. Don't look up. He puts the tray of cookies in front of his chest.
Oh my god.
It was a recent development, I'm sorry.
I leave you alone for an hour and you put honey on your nip.
Quick, put a piece of paper on them and then rip it off.
No! We should go back to the car before Felsi rips my nipples off. She's got paper. Let's go. He just starts power walking back.
I would not use this. This is important paper, you
He's gone.
Philistine.
I think Ketch is gonna at least wait for Madame Elway to come out.
Alright then. Lee does enter the cart and tell Motogun and Dravinche that the others have finally all gotten back out.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
What about Madame Elway? Is she back yet?
Not yet. Not gonna lie, I'm a little worried.
Been what we saw. Yeah.
I mean, the other three seem to be fine. Even Ketcha's not crying, so you know that's weird.
God damn it.
I guess that mountain's mean to others and kind to some.
That's why I didn't want to go inside it. I didn't want to know what it showed me. I like my life the way it is. I don't want to get shown things that don't make sense.
That's fair. Should we go wait out there on the front steps with him for Madame Elway?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make some more tea. I think I'll put brandy in it this time. You guys all look... Everyone except Ket and Felsi looks like they could probably use a drink.
Already ahead of you.
Don't drink my alcohol unless you ask me first.
I had my own stuff.
Fucking
touch
touch
my
my stock.
I'll use that for making cocktails. If you want a drink, I'll make you one, but you gotta ask.
Fucking touch my stock.
Good to know.
Love how he's claimed the alcohol.
He put it in the cart. The cart didn't come with alcohol.
Yeah,
It came with basic
he
food
brought it with him.
provisions.
B, he's the bartender.
Alright, so you all step outside the cart to wait for Madame Elway as well?
Dorinthia would stay inside.
Alright then. So, I'll wait for 5, 10, 30 minutes. Nothing happens. Nothing changes.
She's gonna come out and try to eat us.
Madame Elway is old.
Yeah, that makes sense. She wouldn't be taking a lot longer than the rest of us.
Who knows what it's showing her?
Or she's just been fucking with us. She was out first, and she's just waiting for us to stop waiting for her to show up.
This seems like a her thing to do.
Eh.
You all wait for another hour with no change.
Okay, now I'm getting bored.
Keta has just put the rose behind her ear and started playing her guitar.
While they're messing around, Felsy's gonna. Did Felsy ever get that box open?
The projection cube?
Yeah.
I think
Good
so.
thing I-
Yes, you did. However, if I start telling the session
fine.
go really long,
Okay.
here's what. I'll say that you watch it, and in a DM later, I'll actually send you what the story is. Like, I'll explain it to you.
Alright. I wasn't sure if Felsy had actually solved it yet.
Yeah, you have. You solved it a while ago. We just keep forgetting to let you open it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the story is kind of a mundane one.
Fair enough.
I'll go ahead and just tell you that it's essentially the story of how the hero kings rose to power in Grainham. So-
Is there nothing terribly great?
Yeah, nothing particularly revealing. It's just like a bunch of fanfare about really hyping up the kings of Grainham. Or the rulers of Grainham, rather. But yeah. Several more hours pass, and the sun is starting to come up.
Concerning.
We.
You
Actually,
all
no,
are
let's
feeling
rescue her.
exhausted.
Oh, good exhaustion.
I mean, you're not to the level of having exhaustion yet, because you haven't been doing anything strenuous over this time, but you're starting to feel tired.
I think she's gonna get out anytime soon.
Well, you better hurry it up, or it's going to turn into barbecued Lavani in there.
That wouldn't be good. I like her too much for that to happen. She's very nice. That is nice.
There's
Not
gonna.
Can't
You're
hear
breaking up again.
It's not roboting, it just sounds like your audio jack's not connecting.
Hello? Hello?
Fairly. Yeah. Everything just went really silent.
I guess Mythosia's trying to get
Get that
his
sorted.
microphone to work properly. I heard
Myth, can you hear us still at least? Herp, herp, herp.
Said yeah.
Okay. Alright. As you guys are talking, and as the sun starts to rise, you just hear...
No.
as several long cracks start to form up the side of the mountain.
Immediately running.
Yeah, we're all gonna step back now.
I mean, the cart's still within, like, 100 feet of the mountain itself.
Yeah.
We might need to move the cart. I need to move the cart.
Do we need to go somewhere? What's going on?
Just go back a bit so we don't get on a crash.
Oh, that looks like a problem.
Yeah.
Everyone load up.
I-
Wait till all hands are inside the vehicle before I go.
Brimstone doesn't understand it.
Everyone get on the cart.
Everyone in no time to talk.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. Basically, duck and cover back inside. Galadriel starts sort of just racing just immediately away from the mountain, since he's not really giving action other than that. Just away from mountain.
Just still in at least a bit of sight so we can see what the fuck's going on.
Okay, so you're leaving the door open so you can look out.
Isn't there a window?
No. It's an extra dimensional space.
And if anything, Keta would at least want to sit up front to at least see what the fuck's going on.
Alright. Strap yourself in as Galadriel is running.
That
Just
was
look
also
around.
on a
Do
seat.
that too.
The only two of us can fit up there, I think.
I mean, you guys can sit on top of the cart as well. It does have like a raised platform on top of the cart you can sit on.
Fails on top of the car.
I assume we all just kind of get on places where we can see what the fuck's going on.
Alright, so as
I've completely
Galadriel...
forgotten how fast this thing is.
Well, it's not super fast. Tries to run full speed on sand, he'll literally just run into the ground. His hooves will just kick up too much material. So he can't actually go full speed. Alright, so you guys are watching as these cracks form up the side of the mountain until eventually you just see a large piece of the mountain go flying off. Like a,
What?
and you just see a massive wing extend out of the mountain.
Oh fuck!
I
Oh, no,
don't
no, no,
think
no.
Easily, the wing itself, by itself, easily taller than the mountain.
Oh,
I don't think Madame
gods.
Elway agreed with the mountain.
You just hear from the crack just a massive.
I need to leave. We might need to leave.
What?
Oh,
I don't even know if
gods.
audio picked that up.
Yeah, I picked you up.
It was
Cool.
garbled, but yeah.
Yeah, the garbled helps. And then you see another chunk of the mountain be thrown asunder as another wing extends out the other side.
Bye, mountain.
Oh,
Leave
gods. We made a
No.
mistake letting her go in there, I think.
I think we broke it.
No, 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 no.
And you just see the mountain itself begin to crack and expand outwards as the center form of this being, you assume Elway, just begins to expand out of it, being unable to contain it in its strange halls. The mountain just see this massive, hundreds and hundreds of feet tall, strange, malformed raven-like entity just standing in the desert sands. Pieces of the mountain go flying past you all, crashing into the ground, nearly crushing over top the cart, but luckily Galadriel manages to swash it to the side really fast. You all hold on for dear life as he's trying to pick up as much speed as possible to get you away from this. You can just see the mountain itself raining down as the entity just slowly turns and
Looking at
looks at the crowd and looks at the cart. Just
This
a
is why we
single,
can't have nice things.
just a single unblinking raven's eye, just staring at you all.
Madam Elway?
Felzy gives a wave.
You can feel the sands around you start to shift as this creature moves. Just it turning to face you all causes a sandstorm to kick up around you.
Mo, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
For this.
We're doomed, aren't we?
Maybe.
The sandstorm eclipses your sight. But you can just hear another one of those massive roars. I will make an insight check.
Do what now?
Insight?
Make an insight check.
bloop,
That's 20.
17.
8.
21.
All right. Dravinche, Dravinche, Brimstone, Failsy. All three of anger, fear. That's you feel anger and you feel fear. Anger from this entity, fear for yourselves. Morrigan and Keta. This sounds baleful and pained. Like a mother crying out for a lost child.
She's not attacked. She's not attacked.
She's in pain.
What do you mean she's not attacking?
Remembers.
You blew up a fucking glass mountain that's gonna fucking hurt, yeah?
No, she's crying out for someone she lost.
That is the grief of a
Oh.
mother.
What are you talking about? You can get something from that thing?
God,
Prince, shut up.
This makes sense now. If me and Madame Elway had a talk, she had many children before. She misses having children.
And there's a
Yeah.
sudden silence.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Galadriel
As
suddenly
the-
stops the cart.
Has the sandstorm stopped?
The sandstorm behind you is still kicked up, but for some reason you all were looking back and Galadriel suddenly stopped.
Why is that?
Why did you stop? Turn around to look at the front of the cart.
There is a massive beaked face of you all.
Holy shit, that's quick.
Gotta find a thing for your all's reference. I already sent this to Failsy, but I need to get it for you all.
Dude,
Fuck.
Da Vinci would have already been pulling out the watch at this point.
Morrigan puts a hand on his arm.
This, but much larger.
Not yet. Not yet.
Look in mugshots.
Ooh.
Madame Elway?
For the people who, if any, are watching, what we've been given a picture of is a giant, I guess you could say a giant raven? No. With wings outstretched, covering over a person, and feathers extending off of it. Not so much like feathers, but more like massive tendrils off the back and sides of the raven.
You can also see
Galadriel
at
had-
random points throughout the intervals of the wings several of the hooked finger-like talons that just emerge out of them.
If Galadriel has stopped, Kaita wants to step out of the cart.
If you're not in the cart, you're on top of it, is all you said.
I was up front.
Well, you're still not in the cart.
Step.
If he,
You mean step off?
Okay.
yeah, step off basically.
And by the way, just to give you all some terrifying perspective, just the beacon face alone reaching out towards you, if you all want to make a perception check, you can try to gauge how long it is.
No.
Not the greatest at perception.
Sure.
Keta, too big, too long.
11.
Kaita has one thought in mind.
Brimstone, I was actually going to give you advantage because you're good at gauging distances, because you are a sniper. Alright, so
And now 20 for Brimstone and 23 for Dirt Vinci.
yeah, 21 for Brimstone and 23 for Dravinche.
Performance from Adventure.
So, Armored and Dravinche and Brimstone. I'm
That was
not
a
good at names.
performance check that Armored rolled.
Oh,
That
Was
is
it?
a performance check Armored rolled. Roll a perception check, please. Never mind.
Okay.
So just Brimstone. Makes sense. Sorry, I'm not exactly looking at the screen right now. I'm gesturing to express.
Yeah.
Also, I'm very tired, so
It happens. I'm
Good.
sorry. But yes.
I'm spot.
Brimstone, you sort of like for a second just gauging to, because you're still expecting this to be somewhat of a gauge of how big of this thing is you're looking at. The beak by itself is probably at least 100 foot long. It's a bit hard to tell because of the exact perspective. It's looking directly at you all. You'd have a better idea if it was to the side.
Mhm.
But you'd have to say it's 100 or maybe 200 feet long. You'd have to see it from the side and have some object, though.
Yeah, something for reference.
Yeah. You at least it big.
Bigger than Keta.
A lot of
Bigger
things
than-
are bigger than Keta.
Pretty much everything is bigger than Keta. One of this thing's eyeballs is bigger than Keta.
Yeah. Just
A tiny
But-
reference point.
that. Now the ravens make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That is a big fucking bird.
She seemed to be like she's just staring at us.
Yeah, she is. One, you didn't see her move, but she somehow got in front of you all, but she is not moving right now. She's just looking.
It's a lot more menacing when she does that as a bird.
Keta just kind of drops to her knees and just bows her head in front of Melway.
There's like this groaning sound as you can see the head twist and turn to tilt its head so its eye can look down below it.
And Keta kind of sits back up on her butt. She goes, "Now, I spoke once before of how you missed a lot of things. Hurts a lot. We can't replace what you lost.
Madam Elway, are you in there?
It is her. It's always been her.
The head suddenly twists again to look at you, Dravince. Despite its massive size, just having it constantly puts its undivided attention on whoever is speaking to it. Which is understandably terrifying.
Yeah, just seeing that eye focusing down on him, he just clams up.
Probably taller than Brimstone.
I think you want to hurt us right now, do you?
The eyes shift and look back down at Keta.
If you wanted to already, you would have done it.
No. Just this sort of deep, rasping voice emerges from this crow-like mouth.
It showed you things you didn't want to see, didn't it?
Forgive me. You all can see this massive plume of smoke start rising out of this creature.
Forgive you for what?
Its eyes just go glassy. And the whole of its body stops moving.
What is
Madam
she
Elway?
doing?
And you all just hear, again, that very distinct as the actual beak just cracks.
No.
Can I do an Arcana-ish? Or is this something like a transformation?
You would have no frame of reference for what this is. I'm sorry.
I don't think any of us would.
The only thing that might give you a frame of reference is a nature check.
No.
No.
I'm not terrible at nature.
I think the only one that would really have a chance of knowing this would be Failsy.
12? Unless I push it?
You can try. You've got a point right now.
I'll see if I can push it then. Roll a
So-
d20.
Yep, just roll a d20 and see the number. Yep.
20.
Alrighty then. The closest thing you can think of that this reminds you of is a creature shedding a shell.
Thing.
I think Madame Elbow is just going to pop out of the back of that thing.
The
Might not
beak
be a-
falls off and starts falling towards Keta.
Get up, move!
Off the side.
Pull her
It's
into the
too
cart.
big. There'd be no way to get away from it. But before it hits
Cannot-
any of you, it dissolves into mist.
I was about to say, can I spear tackle Keta?
It would have
Twice.
fallen on all of you guys.
Let's get in the cart. If it's gonna dissolve, I think we'll be okay. But let's get in the cart, please.
I'll just climb back to my spot on the cart.
As you all sort of watch as you're loading back into the cart, the whole of this gargantuan, titan-esque figure just continues to dissolve into this blackened mist. Until standing exactly where this creature's feet were, you just see the robed form of Madame Elway.
Just running to hug her.
Oh, there she is. She's not dead, I think.
You just run up and hug her, and she does not hug you back. Like, her arms actually move away from you.
And then she realizes, and she like away and goes, "I'm sorry."
It's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you all. I don't know,
You've scared me so many times. I figured it was part of your plan.
Trevenche, that is all in good fun. This was not intentional.
I can
Looks at
understand.
Dravenche. Like, what the fuck?
It's all well and good. We got freaked out, but you kind of blew the mountain to pieces.
I suppose it could not contain me, as it were.
Maybe you're really big.
I had honestly hoped you all would never have to see that.
Honestly, the mountain blowing up scared me more than what you looked like up until a few minutes ago.
Coming face to face with me is kind of scary.
I'm sorry, everyone.
In general, I think most of it. Would you like to come back in the cart?
No. I'll be fine out here.
That mountain showed us a lot of things that we didn't want to see.
Indeed.
What?
What?
Does everybody hear that?
You all hear it.
Ah, what
Even
the
Madame
fuck?
Alway snaps to look at the source. It does have a source now.
Oh,
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
You just see another one of those masked entities
masked entities?
Yes. Much as several of you have seen before. The Merchant and the Godkin.
Godkin.
Necessity, entropy, memory.
Oh.
It looks like the little one with the cart.
Were you trapped in there, or
Trapped, contained, embodied? Perhaps.
Sorry, I think we made you homeless.
Home, lost, no. It sort of is just rocking back and forth. You know, its robed form is just rocking back and forth as it speaks. Sort of like a pendulum ticking.
Were you the one who showed us all of that?
No. Memory, reflection. Yours. Enabled pursuit. Mine.
What about the conduit that enabled our pursuit?
You only guided us.
Guided desire. Reflection, perhaps.
You
I
wanna go?
really need some subtitles here to tell me what the hell you're saying.
Have a home? Or where do you want to go?
It just slowly turns, and you can see all the disparate chunks of glass that were once the mountains suddenly pull back in and reform. Home, not lost. And then it just has this bright ethereal glow about it,
I
and then it turns back to you all.
think I get it.
I mean, I guess
Home,
this
not
means,
lost.
I guess this means that there was no lasting damage then.
No.
I think this is the time to joke about that, Da Vinci.
Damages, personal. Myself, no. Damages, personal. You? It seemingly waits for a response.
Kind of. I
Maybe.
guess.
Yes.
I had a great time.
Oh god, you had a great time.
Aware. Aware? Congratulate.
Congratulate?
Looked like the little thing we met in Game Master's domain. Or at least when Game Master took us.
Game Master. Interesting. Name? New. Body. Soul. Mind. One of 3. Or perhaps more.
There's
Wait.
3 of you?
There's possibly more.
Game Master's one of y'all?
At least. Entropy. Necessity. Memory.
And your memory.
And the one.
No, I figured he was entropy.
The one.
Entropy. Future. Control. Necessity. Present. Desire. Memory. Past.
And
Oh
what's
my.
the second
Reflection.
part? Ah,
Goodness. Shared reflection of your past. And by memory. Necessity is what you need now. Entropy is what we saw could happen in the future.
Of you.
Yeah, I saw. I don't like it.
Then change.
No, if I could change what I am, I would. But I can't.
You
You know what?
can.
She's like looking like, oh, I want it.
Necessity.
During all of this, how is Elway looking?
She is silent and looks scared.
Can I do an insight to determine if she's scared of this?
You don't even need to. It's pretty easy to understand that she's scared of the power of an entity that can force you to relive your past.
And then also just knit a fucking mountain together like it was nothing.
Memory. Thank you for what you have done and for what you have showed us.
Hmm.
Even though some of us might have not wanted to see some things that we did see.
Might have been what we needed to see then.
Congratulations.
I think we have to go.
The figure turns to look. You?
Sorry, look at who?
So,
Or-
I think.
Brimstone.
Completely cut out, but okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I said Brimstone.
Yeah.
It just goes, you?
Yeah, me. What? What's up?
You should seek the deepest parts of this desert. Only Brimstone hears this. You have met all three of us. You should go claim your reward. In this desert, there lies a location that extends deep within the core of this world. Or at least this land. Go to it, claim it, and you'll have what you need. Even more than necessity can give you.
So the person is just like easily readable, of just confused and like, okay. Just as he's just listening.
And it just turns back to everyone else now. Alright. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ah!
The mask just breaks and shatters into sand.
The
You know,
So,
That's
Madam
interesting.
Elway, how many years of bad luck do you think blowing up that mountain will?
Ilzy!
Child, I have more years than you can count. I'll take them all.
Yeah, she has a point.
That would actually be super cool to see a giant bird.
And I've got a lot of years.
I don't know. There were only mirrors whenever we wanted them there. I didn't want any of them there, so I didn't break a single one.
I threw a mirror.
What?
Wait, what?
But
I think
isn't
that's an
better-
excellent point to end tonight off.
Yeah. Because we're getting kind of late, too.
I went through a mirror.
What? Alright, you know what to do.
Alright, give me a second to grab it. Alright. So, my friends, I will unfortunately announce that this will shilling like this, as my normal Sunday game that I show for is no longer happening. Sad to say, but you know, good things just have to come to an end sometimes. And, if there's any particular note of an epilogue, I was curious. But as for the channel, he is a good friend of mine. He does streaming. He's very funny. I like his World of Warcraft streams. You can find him at twitch.tv/Librarian Citizen. He's a very great guy. That's me.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to stream or chill?
Nope.
Not as yet.
Alrighty.
Okay, so yes. With that, and on a somewhat terrifying note, we do end the session. And if you want to find out what happens next time, there were some complications behind the scenes that we're not going to get into as to why we started almost an hour and a half late tonight.
I had to go get dinner.
We weren't going to go into it, but okay.
It's not going into it. It's just a quick explanation.
Fair enough. Yeah, DM had to go get food, is the gist of it.
I run this show. If I don't have food, you don't get to play.
Always feed your DMs, people. Always feed your DM. But our normal start time is 7 p.m. EST on Thursdays. Which, yes, I know, and if you're whatever. Anyway, if you want to find out what's going to happen next, keep an eye on this channel, and hopefully next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. EST, hopefully we will start on time or close to it.
We never do, but maybe one of these times.
Yeah, maybe it'll happen one of these days.
Our last stream was exactly 3 hours and 30 minutes long, and I find that very appealing.
That's fair.
Down to the second.
Yeah. That was just lucky.
Yeah.
So I believe with that, everyone should say their good nights.
Everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye. And goodbye.
Alright, but good night, everybody. We'll see y'all next week.
Goodbye.